Wuxia turned her gaze away without the slightest bit of interest from Chai Ling's words. On the horizon, the palace hidden in the clouds appeared in front of them. That place, Wuxia muttered, and like Su Xing, she showed an interested expression. It has nothing to do with this palace's star beast. This palace certainly does not wish to bring trouble to herself. Chai Ling had made her position clear in advance. To have her go to that place was an idea she would not accept, without exception. That place has some activity. Perhaps there will be trouble. Wuxia's eyes slightly narrowed and she sneered. Chai Ling could also tell that the air from that place was not too likable, but she was not very concerned. Speaking of trouble, the noble star honestly did not feel that anyone could give any trouble to the 3-star star weapon harm star. Chai Ling looked with a seeming smile at the fortunate man sleeping on Wuxia's lap, speaking in ridicule. That said, Xiao, how much longer do you plan on letting Su Xing lay upon your lap? A black wind billowed cold and dismal, drawing apart the dense fog. The corners of the palace skirt shattered and became snowflakes. Gong Kaiwei promptly leaned, a slight graveness appearing on her face. Hm. Li Longkue, the killer star, swung the bereaved immortal lofty slaughter double axe, and a black light forced aside the twisting tracing snow sword. Several dozen ice spirit snow soul flying swords endlessly attacked, but to Li Longkue, these hardly posed a threat. Li Longkue screamed, slashing. Song Saiwei's escape technique dodged. Instantly, she landed 500 meters away. Princess! Zhu Sha floated back in retreat, the 5 elements weather banner hastily blocking Li Longkue's incursive attack. Gong Kaiwei panted. The killer star in front of her was somewhat frightening. The injuries her attacks gave Li Longkue apparently had been completely ignored. The tall woman before her raised that bereaved immortal lofty slaughter, without leaving any room to maneuver. She completely ignored all of Gong Saiwei's attacks, as if she was a demon of slaughter. Fiend Star. This was a Fiend Star not just in name, but also in reality. Gong Kaiwei slowly breathed, forgetting the fear that wanted to grow in her heart. When she spotted the Guanghan Moon Palace, Gong Kaiwei had originally thought of giving it to the Kasha Rabbit, 2-star beast that Zhu Sha was searching for. How could she have known that she would run into the killer star Black Whirlwind Li Kuei, who was also paying a visit? Furthermore, she was a killer star who had obtained the star beast biting Azura. 3. Incapable of using magic weapons, Gong Kaiwei honestly was at wit's end against Li Kuei. Still you do not run? I will have you sliced into 10,000 pieces. Li Longkue shouted, fast as flying. Suddenly, Li Longkue stopped and lifted her head. Gong Kaiwei and Zhu Sha lifted their heads at the same time. The bottom of the Guanghan Moon Palace raised a magic cloud of ice and frost, letting down a galaxy. On this river of stars was a divine horse, which stepped on stars and frost, with a mane seemingly of fire. A woman of general-like sternness straddled the horse. Her facial features were dignified, yet she was calm. Even if they were separated by a distance, that overbearing mountain-like aggression made them unable to draw breath. This general was wondering why it was so noisy. As it turns out, there are sisters in a star duel. The woman spoke, laughing aloud. Gong Kaiwei, Zhu Sha and Li Longkue coldly glared at her. The treasure horse landed, and the woman on the horse swept her gaze over them. Li Kue Zhu Wu, it has truly been a long time. Courting death. Li Longkue no longer cared for Gong Kaiwei. With a leap, the black whirlwind attacked. The girl wore a jade necklace and golden armor. Laughing, her hand fell, and a heavy armament appeared in her hand. With a clang, the girl riding the horse easily knocked Li Kue back. Good. Allow this general to properly lecture you disobedient little sisters. The girl slightly smiled. Seeing that weapon, this time with Li Longkue included, the 3 were very surprised. 4-star destined weapon. This Gong did not expect to surprisingly encounter you. Gong Saiwei's cold as ice and frost face showed a graveness. Seeing that outstanding 4-star destined weapon, the immortal hero princess inner tension was fully revealed. At the current phase, she completely was not a foe against a 4-star destined weapon. The weapon naturally was Inger. Above is the Guanghan Moon Palace. This general has looked forward to this for a very long time. The girl said. A mighty pressure matching a 4-star destined weapon pounced towards them. Gong Kaiwei, Zhu Sha and Li Longkui cooperated with much tacit understanding, aiming their hostility at Inger. Inger quickly dispatched them. That place apparently has a very interesting thing. A gentle male voice came from behind the girl. The great Saint Starkiller clad in black magnificent clothing stared at something 1,000 meters away, a twinkling gold light flashing in his eyes. This general obeys your orders. Inger smiled. Gong Kaiwei, Zhu Sha and Li Longkui instantly launched an offensive. Their objective was not just anyone but Great Saint Starkiller. To confront a sister with a 4-star destined weapon, even Fiend Star Li Kuei would choose to flee. The 5 elements weather banners array first trapped Inger. Gong Kaiwei's Ice Soul Frost Spirit flying swords directly stabbed Great Saint Starkiller, and Li Longkui used Wild Dance of Demons and Gods. But this overwhelming thing was completely far from enough. The treasure horse whinnied, breaking through Zhu Sha's array, galloping fast as the wind and instantly intercepting Li Longkui from the front. The star weapon in her hand rose and fell, ending the wild dance of demons and gods. The chilly cold wind came chopping right in her face. Several hundred strands of Li Longkui's messy black hair was severed by the 4-star destined weapon's sharp edge. The killer star bared her teeth, the double axe resisting the attack. Inger smiled, and the Li Longkui with the pressure of 1,000 caddies practically was about to fall to a knee. Li Longkui's face was pale. She took a step back, raised a hand, and her evil smiting writ activated, leaving this place completely without the slightest hesitation. The entire process took place in the blink of an eye. Killer Star Li Longkui was forced out of Evil Smiting Hall. Gong Kaiwei's attack did not obtain any battle results. Great Saint Starkiller's heavenly cycle-changing sword was more powerful than she had thought. Sensing that Li Longkui had been defeated face-to-face, Gong Kaiwei was without the slightest hesitation. Zhu Sha, leave. But compared to Li Longkui's circumstances, the scene Gong Kaiwei confronted was somewhat terrible. She still had not reached the time when she could leave Evil Smiting Hall. Fleeing. Great Saint Starkiller smiled. As it turned out, you still cannot leave Evil Smiting Hall? Then you are dead for certain, immortal hero princess. Seeing Gong Kaiwei currently running towards that heaven-raising golden light, Great Saint Starkiller coldly laughed. Following Inger, he chased after them. Wifey, did I miss anything? Su Xing stretched himself and rose. He slept exceptionally well. Must you so shamelessly address your servant? Wuxia was unhappy. Nonsense, habit becomes nature. Emotions must begin their cultivation from the most insignificant details. Of course, Su Xing did not dare say this aloud. He laughed. All right then, wife. Wuxia was expressionless. If you like it, then I'll address you as wife from now on? Su Xing winked. Wuxia scowled. Humph, your servant certainly does not have an unfaithful and empty lord husband like you. He could tell the harm star was exceptionally dissatisfied. Su Xing rolled his eyes at her. Just consider it for Lin Mei. Su Xing used her shoulder to help himself up. Our relationship improving a bit won't make things difficult for her, isn't that right? Wuxia's white finger flicked away that perverse hand. Your servant knows you have a tongue like reeds and does not wish to engage in chatter with you. However, Wuxia also conceded that Su Xing's words were somewhat logical. Compared to Su Xing, who concerned Wuxia more was Ying Mei. Wife, you are but a bit hypocritical. Su Xing smiled. But I am considerably earnest. It seems I'd better call Xia wife in the future. Su Xing pondered. Wuxia knew that the shameless man in front of her was making her show her true feelings, to make her personally admit the relationship between them. Although such a relationship was somewhat something scoff at in Wuxia's eyes, of course Wuxia still had another sort of answer, which was to use the noble frost demonic lotus to cut him into pieces to feed to dogs. You had best still call your servant wifey. Wuxia already lost the interest to argue. Whoever made her commit that previous folly of calling out Lord Husband had made this man take a mile when she gave an inch. For this kind of detail, Wuxia did not wish to bicker any longer. No one else knew what wifey meant anyways. In addition, Wuxia had found that she herself was not truly disgusted with such an address, but compared to the annoying Su Xing shouts, as if he was merrily poking fun at her. This made Wuxia somewhat upset. Now seeing Su Xing was truly wishing for it, Wuxia felt whatever was fine for him. If the young married couple has finished flirting, then should you not be helping this palace capture her star beast? Chai Ling's mocking voice came from afar. Chai Ling, what nonsense do you speak of? Wuxia's face was slightly red as she shot a glance at her. This palace certainly is not fond of being coy or maudlin. Since you have been called as such, then admit it. These repeated changes, this palace actually somewhat cannot look upon Xiao. Chai Ling seemingly smiled yet did not. Wuxia had been left speechless by her words, and her ears burned with fire. Chai Ling's words reached Su Xing's heart, but he did not want to make things too embarrassing for Wuxia. He then shifted the topic and asked, "Has your star beast come?" "It has come." Chai Ling pointed. A snow-white figure had appeared on the gold mountain, and was currently nibbling on the gold. Staring, that unexpectedly was a cat. With one gold and one dark heterochromatic pupils, fur that was soft, a tail like a flexible and slippery snake easily moving about. It looked completely like an ordinary cat. "Chai Ling, this is your star beast." Anyway, Su Xing looked at it. This was just a house cat. Riches and honor Persia. This palace had once heard of it but never expected to actually see it. This palace takes it very much to her liking. Chai Ling nodded. 5. This must be the Three Eyes wealth-inviting beast. 6. Wuxia said. "Xiao, you know of it." Chai Ling smiled. The riches and honor Persia was also called the Three Eyes wealth-inviting beast, a star beast that could bring good fortune. Using gold as food, it ate the treasures in the world. Legend said that it could open a third eye that could dissolve the treasures of the world. However, Chai Ling actually did not fancy its abilities. Placing herself outside the star duels, whatever happened was fleeting nature of the heavens. What Chai Ling took to her liking actually was the three-eyed wealth-inviting beast figure. Delicate and adorable, this honestly was the optimum choice for a house pet. She had the feeling to hug this little cat in her bosom, and thus Chai Ling was very moved. Let alone that this was her star beast, this feeling of satisfaction was simply something she never had before. Su Xing was speechless. As it turned out, Chai Ling had faced such enormous risk just to come find a house cat to act as a pet. She truly did very much have the style of a queen. "Then what should we do right now?" Su Xing asked her. The riches and honor Persia currently lay atop the gold mountain that Chai Ling piled up, eating to its heart's content. For the time being, it was not easy to act. Wait until she is full. This palace can then capture it. Chai Ling chuckled. Money can open heaven, not just in name but in reality. Su Xing sighed. This perhaps was the easiest time he had coming to Evil Smiting Hall to capture a star beast. A queen was a queen, and her star beast was docile. But before that, it seems trouble has come. Chai Ling's gaze suddenly sunk as she stared into the horizon. The expressions of Su Xing and Wuxia turned serious at the same time. A powerful pressure was currently heading towards this place. The atmosphere was somewhat not too likable. That intimidating aura shooting straight for them unexpectedly pierced through 100 li, like an enormous stone pressing on their chests. Some star beast or martial general. Su Xing's wrist flipped, calling forth heaven tearing. The flying swords floated together, their sword tips like revealed dragon fangs. In actuality, when Su Xing was sleeping, Chai Ling's devil push and millstone had long already attracted many spying star masters and star maidens. But upon seeing Wuxia and her white and black unicorn tiger, they tactfully made a greeting. The dreaming Su Xing missed many opportunities to know new star maidens. The white and black unicorn tiger bared its fangs, arched its body and assumed the pose of pouncing on prey. Wuxia was still calm as before, only coldly watching. Chai Ling actually was unconcerned, for her mind was entirely hung upon the riches and honor Persia. In her eyes, one was the famous wanderer Wu Song, unrivaled in close combat, and the other was a man who possessed 7 sisters and martial force that would not lose out to even a star general. In Evil Smiting Hall, those that could prevail over this adulterous couple probably did not exist. Chai Ling's thoughts once again validated that destiny's greatest joke often was running opposite of what you thought. An hour later, That biting cold sound finally grew increasingly close. A figure also gradually became distinct. The one being chased was a girl with clothes that surpassed snow. And amidst her dodges, she fully displayed a sword chant that would make anyone feel impressed. Several dozen black ice flying swords like cold smoke dispersed, interweaved and formed a sword array, one that no ordinary person could resist. Gong Kaiwei. Su Xing glanced back at the girl, amazed. Surprisingly, it was her. A heavenly river of starlight pounced over to cover Gong Kaiwei. The cold smoke dispersed, and another young girl riding upon a divine steed came slashing. He saw that Gong Kaiwei was about to be a beauty that passed away. Su Xing no longer could sit and wait. In Wuxia's surprised expression, he lunged over, clasped his hands together and concentrated Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder into the size of cotton wads and protected Gong Kaiwei. That abnormal flying sword of randomly and disappearing stars did not easily penetrate the Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder net. Langya cried, blue light flashing. Upon touching the blue light, the opposing flying swords shook as if they had met with their nemesis. Su Xing arrived at Gong Kaiwei's side. The girl's face drained of color also was surprised. He grabbed her, and at this moment, a chilly wind poured into his body. A tremendous power that Su Xing had never felt before was at his back like a knife's tip. So powerful. Heaven Tearing screamed and tore forward. The glaring gold light seemed to be extinguished by the cold wind. Su Xing's chest bubbled with blood and qi, and he violently vomited blood. Possessing the life cast link with Heaven Tearing, Su Xing was aghast to sense the opponent's slash unexpectedly cut the unstoppable Heaven Tearing to pieces. Without the form of a sword, that power was too frightening. The second attack nearly carried out without stopping. Directly slashing at Su Xing and Gong Kaiwei's waists, the opponent's attack was considerably firm, its form like running water. Su Xing had no choice and could only call for Heaven Tearing to defend again. This time he continuously spat several mouthfuls of blood, dyeing the snow-white palace dress over Gong Kaiwei's whole body with a great stain of red. When the girl saw, she formed a hand seal, releasing several dozen rays of cold light, using a cold smoke barrier ability. A soft laugh disdainfully replied. A whinny resounded. The cold smoke shattered, and an absolutely unique divine steed stepped out. The barrier was ground to pieces. Su Xing finally could clearly see the appearance of the girl on the horse. With dignified features, she was a general-like beauty. The polearm in her hand flashed. Su Xing could not see it clearly, but the narrowly bound ice cold on the weapon directly entered his soul. There was a sort of oppressive feeling that made them unable to budge. What was the background of this woman? Su Xing was inwardly shocked. He had already planned to brave and endure a cut to use the chaotic tail escape. Hey! A soft shout that would make people feel warm at this time came over. A cool and elegant back blocked in front of Su Xing. White clothes and fluttering black hair formed a clear contrast. Wuxia's sword blacked, and that mighty woman gasped in surprise. The two traded blows. A powerful air current shook Su Xing and Gong Kaiwei apart. Su Xing then shielded Gong Kaiwei. Heaven Tearing and Langya were recalled. Upon seeing Heaven Tearing, Su Xing's heart ached. The body of the dragon scale sword had cracked in numerous places, its spiritual power greatly debilitated. Clearly, it would need to be refined again. Apologies. Seeing that the Heaven Tearing flying swords had been broken, Gong Kaiwei apologetically spoke. Su Xing helplessly stowed Heaven Tearing and shook his head. Langya turned around, and his gaze once again returned to his opponent. A white shadow landed light as a feather in front of Su Xing. Wuxia's expression was even more ice-cold. At this time, the little whirlwind Chai Ling could not help but walk over, astonished to see the newcomers. A golden mill tray. Could it be this one is so fortunate as to have encountered the wealthy official, noble star Little Whirlwind? A man's voice was penetrating. The black-robed man's riding sword was above, smiling sinisterly at everything he saw before him. Great Saint Star Killer. Su Xing's gaze sunk. Heavenly Gem Valley was vividly still on his mind. Surprisingly, he would encounter such a thorny opponent. Su Xing had used a change appearance pill at Heavenly Gem Valley, so Great Saint Starkiller had not seen Su Xing then at all. His evil and penetrating gaze scanned everyone present. being attracted by the graceful Chai Ling and the cool and forceful Wuxia. To be able to emit such a noble queenly air, clearly her background was not small. And that noble frost demonic lotus left Great Saint Starkiller feeling even more endlessly shocked. Wu Song. To unexpectedly encounter Wu Song, Inger, there was a great harvest inside Evil Smiting Hall, as expected. Great Saint Starkiller, rather than be fearful, contrarily smiled, which made Su Xing smell danger. To be able to make the Great Saint Starkiller so self-confident, there was only one truth. He had a star general. Little sister Wu Song, this general truly has found what she has been looking for. Smoke and dust scattered everywhere, filling the skies as the divine steed rushed forth. This horse had 4 shiny eyes, half made of fire, the other of frost, its whole body a blood red like flame, but it nevertheless emitted an exceptionally cold air. Its mane billowed, faintly releasing wind with each step. The Guanghan red hair. Tu Chailing surprisingly drew in a breath. This is that Guanghan red hair? Su Xing was taken aback. Other than the star beasts of his beauties, Su Xing was not at all clear on the star beasts of the other star maidens, but he had also heard Wu Xinjie mentioned before the star beast list. 3. The star duels were now Liangshan continent's most grand event. The great deal of materials pertaining to the star duels would grow and grow, and the star beast list was one among them. This list principally introduced the rankings of the star beasts previous star maidens had in previous star duels. As everyone knew, star generals only were considered complete star generals upon obtaining a star beast. Besides star beasts being able to help with overall improvements in some area of a star general's every ability, the star beast mounts of the martial generals among them could hold an even greater advantage in mounted combat. In previous star beast lists, the Guanghan red hair could be ranked as a third-place existence. It was a pity that the Guanghan red hair was extremely difficult to manage. It was just like a golden qilin, and only a certain few star generals could capture it. There was only one master that could capture the Guanghan red hair. The face of the woman straddling the Guanghan red hair wore a smile. Her appearance flourished with aggression, her whole body clad in golden armor. Her hand clutched a purple-colored 9-revolution coiling dragon broadsword. The blade's tip was keen, with a translucence that made people cold. This blade was known as the Purple Brilliant Moon Slashing Blade. 5. An absolutely domineering star general. The ranked 5th brave star Great Blade Guansheng. 6. Su Xing shivered. Without hesitation, he flipped out the birth treasure outline. Star position, brave star name, Guansheng nickname, Great Blade true name, Guaning rank, 5th star weapon, Purple Brilliant Slaying Moonblade 4 star. 7 star beast, Guanghan red hair 10th rank, realm, matchless 5th stage innate skill. The unrivaled 8-5 elements, Earth yellow rank special move. Azure Dragon Slash, 9 dark rank special move. Total Annihilation, 10 current status. Contractor / Great Saint Starkiller detailed materials. Matchless 5th stage 4 star destined weapon. The data that appeared in front of Su Xing made his expression turn shocked. In astonishment he looked at the purple brilliant slaying moonblade in brave star Guansheng's hand. For fairy-like circulated on the blade, the quiet current emitting an intimidating air that would make anyone palpitate. No wonder heaven tearing could be damaged so severely in 2 strikes. If it was a 4-star destined weapon, even Su Xing's current life-cast flying swords were incapable of contending against it. A 4-star destined weapon had unexpectedly appeared, and it unexpectedly was the brave star Great Blade Guansheng who was number 1 in mounted combat. Su Xing's scalp felt numb, for things had turned grave. Chai Ling's smile had already vanished, and she used the golden thread feather fan to cover her inner shock, yet her eyes showed deep fear. The brave star Guansheng who had obtained the Guanghan red hair also had a 4-star destined weapon in hand. At the current phase she was simply unrivaled. Just where did this man pop out from? To unexpectedly have a relationship so intimate with Wu Song? Guangying straddled the Guanghan red hair, posing a question. That flying sword was forged with evil-suppressing gem bamboo? It seems his background is not small. Great Saint Starkiller faintly said. What Great Saint Starkiller cultivated was the Netherworld's devil arts. The heavenly cycle-changing holy sword was added with a demonic element, And in the clash with Su Xing's flying swords just now, his supreme sword chant had been suppressed to the point that he required far greater energy than normal to control the flying swords. Clearly, they had met with their nemesis. Great Saint Starkiller would never think that these 12 Lengya were forged from that 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo. His gaze fell onto Chai Ling, and his pupils brimmed with a severe aggression. It seems certain that you are noble star Chai Jin? If you have her assistance and Wu Song is present, your evil-suppressing gem bamboo flying swords tell all. Great Saint Starkiller muttered. Having faced some people, the feeling that Great Saint Starkiller and Guaning gave was an overbearing one, a completely contemptuous manner. Even when they met with the Star General who had succeeded the previous Overlord Wu Song, they still had a sort of disdainful tone. And this pride originated from her own incredible power. Just the advantage of a 4-star destined weapon was enough to pressure people into being unable to draw breath. Kaiwei, can you still fight? The Gong Kaiwei and Su Xing's bosom broke free of his embrace. Her face was pale, and Star General resourceful strategist Zhu Sha was nowhere to be seen. Su Xing feared that she had been killed off into the star nest, however, for the immortal hero princess to be able to run for so long from Great Saint Starkiller made Su Xing inwardly impressed. Having not seen each other in a long time, Gong Kaiwei was not someone to underestimate. Gong Kaiwei's flying swords already were incapable of further combat, and she could barely stand. Running into Su Xing was somewhat confusing, yet she did not say much. Her gaze returned to Great Saint Starkiller. Kill him. Gong Kaiwei surreptitiously used sound transmission. Su Xing slyly nodded his head. To defeat Guaning, the only thing he could do was to defeat her star master, Great Saint Starkiller. However, he was the Netherworld's #1 star master, the Great Saint Starkiller whose star energy had already reached the peak of galaxy stage. To take any advantage was easier said than done. That time in Heavenly Gem Valley, Su Xing also knew that the Great Saint Starkiller in front of him was a ruthless character. Guansheng, you unexpectedly would sign a contract with a man from the Netherworld. You have disgraced your reputation and dignity. Wuxia was neither friendly nor angry, not showing the least bit of fear. The words little sister speaks truly are a joke. How can you differentiate between good and evil in the star duels? Thanks to young master's star energy, this general has finally broken through the shackles of star energy. Guaning smiled and said, now that Guansheng is here, Wu Song, do you dare battle? Let your horse come here then. Wuxia sneered. Now that Guansheng is here, Wu Song, do you dare battle? Brave Star Guaning straightforwardly smiled. The fame of the previous Wu Song, Star Duel Overlord, shook the entire world. In her own capacity as the #1 in mounted battles, her martial force was similarly did not lose out to top-notch martial generals like Lu Junyi. Guaning also was eager to give Wuxia a try, for she raised the intent to challenge her. In the previous star duels, the brave star was always a not-so-subtle trophy, and for that reason in this generation, Guaning also put down the so-called dignity of a top-notch martial general, no longer bothering about the so-called good or evil of the Netherworld. And no wonder, for the star duels inherently disregarded good and evil. They cared only for life and death. The so-called good and bad was nothing more than a hypocritical mask to deceive herself. Previous Guanshengs that took orders with matchless loyalty and bravery nevertheless suffered many tragedies. It was this mistake that Guaning would no longer repeat. Not only did Guaning find a talented and outstanding star master in the Netherworld, she even had the assistance of the #1 Devil Star Palace. Now was only the third phase Evil Smiting Hall. Yet Guansheng's current position practically could be said to be the peak of the successive generations of star duels, a realm that no one could reach. 4-star Purple Brilliant Moon Slashing Blade, matchless 5th stage, the #3 star beast Mount Guanghan Red Hair. Guangying nearly held an advantage over Wuxia in every aspect. Except for one. Calmness. Facing the standing Guaning, Wuxia's calm was somewhat frightening. Those eyes made Guaning somewhat dissatisfied, and she even felt danger. Let your horse come here then. Wuxia sneered. The white and black unicorn tiger roared. The harm star straddled it. The noble frost demonic lotus black light and snow followed the clarity of its master's thoughts. Pure light reflected upon Wuxia's face, a frighteningly beautiful sight. The battles of first-rate star generals required no more chatter. The Guanghan red hair was flanked by rolling clouds of frost and raging flames. Star General spurred Star Beast into a charge. Oftentimes, the first strike was enough to be fatal. Wuxia was cool as ice and frost, instantly forging ahead. The white and black unicorn tiger bared its fangs and claws, its aggressiveness similarly ferocious. The purple brilliant moon slashing blade and noble frost demonic lotus clashed with clear and crisp jolts. Just the sound alone of the impacts was enough to be ear-piercing. Wu Song, you must not make this general disappointed. The Guaning sitting upon the Guanghan red hair shouted, her purple brilliant moon slashing blade making a reverse slash, executing an attack that was like Mount Tai. Air that seemingly had the pressure of 1,000 caddies whooshed. Humph! A cold sword tip drew a streak of absolute cold. The 4-star purple brilliant moon slashing blade and the 3-star noble frost demonic lotus once again crossed. Guangying's hand lowered, and Wuxia immediately felt her hand go numb. The double-ended sword nearly flew out of her hand, for Guanying's strength completely was unprecedented to Wuxia. The white and black unicorn tiger scratched at the Guanghan red hair, wanting to use its sharp claws to help its master. The Guanghan red hair was the high third-ranked star beast. Those 4 eyes emitted frosty clouds and raging flames that intercepted the white and black unicorn tiger's attack. Its hooves kicked, forcing the white and black unicorn tiger back several steps. Witness the crescent moon blade technique. Guaning again slashed, brandishing a dazzling blade chi. Noble frost demonic lotus forged onwards. The sword made an unexpected move, blocked again and again. In the time of the several exchanges between Wuxia and Guanying's star beasts, on the other side, Su Xing had made a move against Great Saint Starkiller. Langya split off into countless glistening blue lights, their sparkling clearly overlaid with a bamboo sword. The evil-suppressing clear light spilled forth in a flood, forcing Great Saint Starkiller to be continuously astonished. This arrogant number 1 star master of the Netherworld did not dare touch it directly. Controlling the heavenly cycle-changing holy sword, he barely resisted. You contracted the noble star? Truly strange. Unexpectedly there would be a star master like you. Great Saint Starkiller's star energy was at the peak of galaxy, and Su Xing, who had yet to refine Wu Xingjia's star energy, was merely galaxy middle stage. Great Saint Starkiller actually could rely on his own strengths, and used the heavenly cycle-changing holy swords to block Su Xing's Langya. Great Saint Starkiller was secure in the knowledge that he had backing, remaining calm despite the situation, not minding Su Xing and the others at all. In his perspective, with brave Star Guaning here, the few people in front of him were merely among the dead. Su Xing continuously used several abilities, the Purple Cloud True Star and Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder, not leaving any room. Great Saint Starkiller gasped, for he noticed this Purple Thunder was somewhat familiar. Just what is your relationship with the Purple Thunder monster? Su Xing wrinkled his brow, for he saw that Langya had been stopped. Glancing out the corner of his eye, he saw that Wuxia's situation was considerably far from good. Every second longer he delayed was another variable added. Su Xing certainly did not want this, but evil smiting Hall's forbiddance made Su Xing's prehistoric spirit treasures incapable of use. This undoubtedly left him without a trump card. Wuxia's side was somewhat troubled. Su Xing spied a cool and elegant figure. Fortunately, Wuxia at this time fighting against Guaning had drawn away the woman's line of sight. Her careless expression was stirring. There was a sort of telepathic feeling that shot through his heart. It seemed he could only do this. Su Xing bit open the tip of his tongue, spraying out blood that concentrated into the blaze refining 9 Hell's saber. The sword flew about of its own accord, and the will-o'-the-wisps upon the blade gathered and slashed at Great Saint Starkiller. Great Saint Starkiller put 2 fingers together. Several bolts of black light like specters shot over to block Su Xing. This took place in only several seconds, and the Great Saint Starkiller relied on these few seconds to avoid the sneak attack. The blaze refining 9 Hell's saber? This is the Deviant star weapon? You unexpectedly could dispatch the red-haired devil? Great Saint Starkiller looked at that 9-ringed ghost saber, showing a surprised expression. The The Star Master that contracted the noble star was capable of getting rid of the red-haired devil? Great Saint Starkiller did not dare believe this fact. It must have been achieved by relying on Wuxia. His thoughts passing by, Great Saint Starkiller also bit open his tongue the first moment he could, and in his hand also appeared a star weapon, the 3-star wind-slashing dragon fang. When he put it in his hand, the wind-slashing dragon fang slashed out hundreds of streaks of dragon fang saber chi. The saber chi spread out, enveloping the area. This was the forest emerging dragon Zhou Yuan's yellow rank technique. Wind-slaying slash. Due to Great Saint Starkiller killing Zhou Yuan when she was at 3-star, it was inevitable that by inheriting the star weapon he inherited the forest emerging dragon's everything. Although Su Xing's blaze refining 9-health saber was a heavenly star's weapon, when he had obtained it, it was not even 1 star. Relying on his powerful battle talents, Su Xing raised the blaze refining 9-health's infernal saber and barely resisted, bringing about your own destruction. Great Saint Starkiller brought down slash after slash. This time he did not completely hesitate to use dragon hidden in pond. The Netherworld's #1 Star Master naturally was not an empty name. Using 2 techniques consecutively, he completely did not give Su Xing the slightest opportunity, but he already knew about Great Saint Starkiller's might. Su Xing naturally would not be so rash. On the contrary, what Su Xing had waited for was Great Saint Starkiller using Dragon Hidden in Pond. Dragon Hidden in Pond made Great Saint Starkiller's speed increase several-fold in an instant. His body was like a dragon, the axe head suddenly slashing. In the blink of an eye, he had drawn near, directly making for Su Xing's heart. Bang! The blaze refining Ning Hell's saber horizontally blocked in front of his chest, perfectly blocking this cut. The blaze refining 9 Hell's saber barely blocked for a second before nevertheless shattering. Ah! Great Saint Starkiller felt enormous surprise. Su Xing was not infuriated, but smiled instead. How could he have known that Su Xing had already experienced his dragon hiding in pond? Naturally, he knew that this move's fierce aspect was in its strength instantly exploding at the moment of attack. Not good. Great Saint Starkiller suddenly had an unsightly expression. Su Xing's left hand that had been charging now struck full force. Great Saint Starkiller only felt his eyes were dazzled, and his chest went cold. Su Xing's devil-like 5-fingered demonic claw pressed against his chest, the movement incomparably gentle. This was the first time ever that Great Saint Starkiller had been stunned by a Star Master. He had yet to cry out when there was a Zila sound. A sharpness sharper than even a sword directly seized Great Saint Starkiller, and violently tore downwards. A wound deep enough to show bone sent blood flying. Great Saint Starkiller screamed, flying away. Su Xing clenched his claw that dripped with blood, not having thought that the 9 claws true dragon art he obtained from Long Outyin would be so useful. Then he did not hesitate at all to continue attacking. Wu Song, is this all you can do? Guan Ying's hands gripped the great blade, and the Guanghan red hair suddenly charged forwards. It slammed the white and black unicorn tiger, sending it sliding backwards 100 meters. The horse's footfalls thundered, the sound of the wind like a thunderclap. Guaning raised the purple brilliant moon-slashing blade and charged forth, her aggression like a swelling sea. Wuxia's expression was ice and frost. Gritting her teeth, the Harm Star was very clear about her present situation. With Guaning riding her star beast, even Lu Junyi would be slightly hard-pressed. Originally, the Brave Star had an advantage in all aspects. Yet in their current battle, Wu Song was being overwhelmed even more. Consecutively clashing with their star beasts in 100 exchanges, Wuxia's snow-white skirt already displayed numerous tears. Even the white and black unicorn tiger was also weary and battered. Continuing like this further would only bring about defeat even quicker. Wuxia's eyes showed an even colder light. As the pilgrim, Wuxia knew her own advantage absolutely was not on star beasts, but rather on foot. Now the sole thing she could do was to cut down Guan Ying's Guanghan red hair. Only with this could she have the possibility to fight. Wuxia did not plan to win at all. The only thing she thought of right now was to buy enough time for Chailing and Su Xing to capture the Star Beast. Of course, the battles between top-notch martial generals often would give each other enormous benefit. On this point Wuxia also was fixated. Her hands clenched the sword, concentrating the strength of her whole body into her wrists. The white and black unicorn tiger sensed its master's intent, and it wildly charged. In their first exchange, the clashing of metal struck their eardrums. Suddenly, Wuxia jumped, leaving the white and black unicorn tiger. The white and black unicorn tiger opened its mouth wide, and like a flash of lightning, it pounced. Wuxia's figure landed like a swallow, the noble frost demonic lotus slashing at Guaning on the Guanghan red hair. Wuxia attacked above, the white and black unicorn tiger attacked below, her coordination with Star Beast making Guaning slightly impressed. But this was not enough. The Guanghan red hair jolted out flowing frost and raging flames, doubling over as it attacked the white and black unicorn tiger. Guaning at this time also instantly slashed. Sweeping between the pilgrim's arms, she slashed directly at the chest. How could she have anticipated that? Wuxia suddenly flung the double-ended sword, and a powerful killing intent directly burst open in the area, like converging lotuses. In that instant, Wuxia's speed abruptly was swift to the extreme. Tenli demonic lotus dragon slaying. Guaning was astonished. Her own attack had been beat back. Relying on this sudden outburst of aggression, Wuxia arrived behind Guaning in the blink of an eye, and her sword slashed down at red hair. The matchless fifth stage brave star was bold and powerful. Wuxia's seemingly unexpected sneak attack completely did not need any reflection from Guaning. Leaning, she instinctively lashed out with her blade, the purple brilliant moon slashing blade slashing ahead, raising a cold wind. This time, Wuxia absolutely did not have any possibility of evading. If only little sister could return to the star nest. Guaning thus said. Wuxia faced the onward slash without a trace of fear. Just at this moment, without warning, Guaning felt her whole body jolt. There was a sort of pain as if her soul was being thrashed. The brave star's complexion changed, and this slash suddenly lost its sharpness. The weapon's tip brushed past Wuxia's cheek, and her hair was severed inch by inch from the weapon's blade chi. Guanying's split-second hesitation gave Wuxia a valuable opportunity to counterattack. Wuxia even used a lightning-like rush. The matchless fifth stage Guaning practically did not need to think during battle. Her palm patted the Guanghan red hair, and her figure immediately soared away from red hair. In that instant she left, the Guanghan red hair was twisted apart by an eerie sword light like ink yet also like snow. Fortunately, the Guanghan red hair was not the average star beast. Being slashed by Wuxia like this merely sent it to its last gasp, tottering on the brink. The white and black unicorn tiger pounced, biting down on the Guanghan red hare's windpipe. The Guanghan red hare's whole body of frost and flame erupted and immediately surged like a storm. Azure Dragon Slash. To Guaning shouted. She promptly brandished her blade. Star generals that entered the matchless realm did not need to charge in order to use Heaven Earth Dark Yellow, and a yellow rank technique was done as easily as turning her hand. These slash was powerful as lightning, the blade chi spurting forth an azure dragon that directly attacked. There were two cries. Sparks fell as did white light. The Guanghan red hair and the white and black unicorn tiger, surprisingly both disappeared. The star beasts that star generals contracted were not at all innately immortal like star generals, but they did have the capability to resurrect 3 times. However, each death and subsequent revival would require the waste of even more star energy. Furthermore, the death of the star beast would make star generals hurt for a very long time. Guanying's mighty smile had already disappeared from sight. Out of the corner of her eye, several hundred meters away were the currently battling Su Xing and Great Saint Starkiller. Spotting that Great Saint Starkiller had unexpectedly sustained injury, she was somewhat enraged. It was that moment just now that if Great Saint Starkiller had not been injured, simultaneously draining her, the harm star before her might have already directly star fell. However, that instant honestly was too fortunate. Guaning could only see this as heaven's concern for the previous overlord. Enviable concern. How is it? Guaning said. What? Wusong, do you still wish to fight? You completely do not need to come to Evil Smiting Hall, and must be able to leave as you please. Guaning said. Wusong did not reply. Gripping her sword in one hand, her slender jade legs stepped apart into an attack stance. Her answer was very direct. Worthy of being called the successor of the previous overlord. This general is impressed. Guaning nodded her head in praise. Then she shook her head. But you ought to know, the you without a star master fundamentally cannot defeat this general. Although Guaning had suffered a hardship because of Great Saint Starkiller, regardless of how it was put, with the support of Great Seton Starkiller's star energy, Guaning already far surpassed Wuxia in terms of star energy. Just this amount of star energy alone was sufficient to allow Guaning the use of the Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow, to make Wuxia properly suffer misfortune. Could it be that you remain behind for the sake of that man? Guaning turned her head, watching the Su Xing fighting Great Saint Starkiller. Great Saint Starkiller regained his senses. After casting Guaning an apologetic expression, he immediately was abruptly infuriated yet also cautious. Great Saint Starkiller had cultivated the 8 desolate heavenly demon body, and also had Guanying's innate skill, the unrivaled. For Su Xing to kill him was not as easy as killing a star general. So long as Great Saint Starkiller made no further errors, Guaning believed that man would die sooner or later. Guansheng, you have a lot of nonsense to say. Wuxia's voice was expressionless as her figure flashed by. It seems indeed so. Guaning nodded. Leaping, the purple brilliant moon-slashing blade horizontally blocked Wuxia's attack. Curling her lips into a smile, both her hands grasped the purple brilliant moon-slashing moon blade. Wu Song, this general shall see for just how long you can stay in evil smiting hall. Guansheng's whole body erupted with a powerful intimidating aura, unexpectedly forcing Wuxia's attack apart. She nearly was injured from the impact. Even so, this aggression still made Wuxia's eyes blink. Innate skill, unrivaled mode? Just at this moment, her eyes flashed a cold light. Clang clang. Sparks sprayed everywhere. Wuxia's seemingly forever cold pupils showed enormous shock. Such swift speed, such powerful strength. Guanying's wrist sunk, and blossoming with an imposing smile, the purple brilliant moon-slashing blade released terrifying waves. The attack instantly was like a rushing tide. At practically the moment metal clashed, Wuxia's double-ended sword and Guanying's purple brilliant moon-slashing blade slammed into each other, giving rise to an enormous impact so cold that the entire earth shivered, and fog wildly rolled away. Wuxia adjusted her sword, moved her figure. The chi on her sword blade concentrated into a sharp saber light, ripping apart the air. The air distorted. Wuxia attacked with full power, not holding back in the slightest. Regardless of whether it was with speed, angle, power or willpower, everything was impeccably perfect. This slash was directly went for a blind spot, flawless. Perfect? Guaning had always been fond of trampling perfect things. She allowed Wuxia to once again witness the total superiority of a 4-star destined weapon. The purple brilliant moon-slashing blade stirred, crushing Wuxia's perfect sword light. The power she raised directly pushed Wuxia back. Following the movement of the saber light, the purple brilliant moon-slashing blade slashed out an azure dragon, not to attack Wuxia, but rather to attack Su Xing. Wuxia's pupils shrunk. Guanying's eyes laughed, as if she was saying, "Do you wish to save him?" Wuxia hesitated for a split second, not moving. She grabbed the noble frost demonic lotus, her attacks actually in continuous fury. "Little sister, that is truly a good expression," Guaning exclaimed. Careful. The Su Xing currently battling Great Saint Starkiller suddenly sensed a powerful strength attack. Out the corner of his eye, an azure dragon like a sword made a beeline for his chest. Su Xing hastily retreated, but that azure dragon was seemingly alive, chasing after Su Xing. That speed and power was swift nearly to the point of making Su Xing completely incapable of blocking. With the yellow rank technique used by a matchless 5th stage 4-star destined weapon, let alone Su Xing being able to dodge, even a heavenly star martial general would not necessarily avoid this. Damn it! Su Xing did not expect that Guaning would be so troublesome. To be able to send an attack at him while fighting Wuxia, this was the brave star in unrivaled state. At any opportunity, at any time, she could execute the attack she wanted. Hey! Gong Kaiwei abruptly blocked with her body. A flying sword shielded her. You're crazy. Su Xing turned pale with fright when he saw that Gong Kaiwei unexpectedly wanted to shield him. This slash proceeded. Unless Gong Kaiwei had some trump card, she would undoubtedly be scattered smoke and ash. The azure dragon blade light exploded. For a time, 7 colored starlight twinkled and formed a magnificent galaxy that unexpectedly broke the azure dragon slash. Su Xing stared in a daze, his heart suddenly somewhat worried. Gong Kaiwei's figure was indistinctly visible in the explosion. When Su Xing saw, he hastily rushed to her side. Grabbing her, he shouted, "You're crazy. Always it has been the handsome hero that blocks the blade for the beautiful damsel. What are you doing going against convention?" Gong Kaiwei's cold as snow face also was blank when she heard these words. This man was unavoidably too lacking in a sense of urgency, unexpectedly flirting in front of this one. Great Saint Starkiller angrily said, "Get lost." Su Xing waved his hand. Langia emitted a quaking cry that actually made Great Saint Starkiller roll quite a distance away. Damned evil suppressed gem bamboo. It was not I who blocked that. Gong Kaiwei saw that Su Xing had grabbed her shoulder. Her brow furrowed, somewhat in pain. When Su Xing saw he was a bit too anxious just now. "It wasn't you? Then what about these?" Starlight swirled and enveloped the entire area in an atmosphere of ancient mystery. Lowering their heads, they saw Ling seemingly smiling yet not as she stood below watching. "Su Xing, you are somewhat unfaithful, unexpectedly wishing to take advantage of even a star master." Looking at the queen's forehead, her frontlet and other jewels twinkled with a gorgeous starlight. These starlights was just like a veil draped over Ling's shoulders, making Ling appear even more elegant and refined, mysteriously making them feel fear. Following Ling's white finger dancing, this moonlight and starlight seemed to come alive and emit a spirit-like brilliance. Flowing, they dispersed the entire edge. Purple star astral treasure, moon-seizing star-taking. 5 Gong Kaiwei muttered. "This palace certainly does not want to owe you a favor." Ling said. "Humph." From far away, there was a sneer. An azure dragon once again bellowed. Ling's eyes flashed with light. Her finger fluttered, starlight twinkled, and flowing like a river, the moment the azure dragon sunk into the galaxy, it immediately disappeared without a trace. Guaning displayed one aspect of unrivaled. The purple brilliant moon slashing blade directly used azure dragon slash. Heavenly stars using heaven earth dark yellow generally was very demanding. Using one would consume much strength, and even if they were higher by a realm, they would not misuse it. Until the critical moment, there was no usefulness. But Guaning and Unrivaled basically did not need to care about this minor detail. The azure dragon slash surged forth, as if it completely ignored Wuxia's existence. Ling grit her teeth. The galaxy and bright moon that moon-seizing star-taking raised was increasingly dense, continuously breaking Guanying's azure dragon slash. "Quickly go capture the star beast, we cannot defeat her." Su Xing shouted, immediately using Langia in a tandem dance. Afterwards, he aimed at Great Saint Starkiller. Moon-seizing star-taking really was not unlimited in use. Each time she broke an azure dragon slash, it greatly consumed the star energy that Little Whirlwind had accumulated over so many years. After several times, she was somewhat burdened. Hearing Su Xing's words, Ling said nothing more. Seeing that the three-eyed wealth-inviting beast had already eaten the gold, the perfect opportunity to capture it. Ling was very clear that the group right now basically was incapable of confronting the Guaning that held the advantage. "Do not be furious before your servant." Seeing Guaning so unbridled, Wuxia was angry. "Hey!" The purple brilliant moon slashing blade's trajectory suddenly changed. All of a sudden, Guanying's slash drew near before Wuxia's eyes. With an air-shattering sparkle, Wuxia somersaulted down. "Little sister, still you do not leave." Guanying's power was vast, displaying a tyrannical moon-slashing blade technique. Wuxia's expression was exceptionally grave. For the sake of not letting Guaning face Su Xing, she had already completely blocked Guanying's line of sight, concentrating the blade technique on herself. Passing through the purple brilliant moon-slashing blade's change in trajectory, and the sweeping air of intimidation, Wuxia could clearly see the Guaning in the center. continuing with several dozen exchanges. Wuxia already fell back again and again, being forced to a dead end. Great Blade Guanying's moon-slashing blade technique was very tyrannical, proving herself to have inherited the legendary Three Kingdoms Warlord Saint of War Guanyu's blade technique. Bang! Dodging again and again. Swordlight directly attacked. Guanying was taken aback. From what she felt confronting Noble Frost Demonic Lotus, there really was not a prideful fighting spirit of fury. Rather, there was a kind of completely confounding tranquility and a sort of easy as lifting weights calm. Guanying's sneer instantly came into Wuxia's view. Slashing without any leeway, in the midst of a shattering sound, she cut her target apart. But this was only a shadow. A sneer came from behind her. All of a sudden, Wuxia appeared. Guanying did not need to react at all, for she instinctively spun around to block. Heaven knew how this sort of maneuver was completed, but a firelight appeared on her weapon, simultaneously pushing back. A trace of blood flew out. It was unknown when her arm had a wound ripped open by Guanying's purple brilliant moon-slashing blade. Blood directly flowed, yet Wuxia remained unmoved. Without pausing at all, two figures rapidly rushed towards each other with speed beyond compare. Guanying's purple brilliant moon-slashing blade pierced through an incalculable distance, striking in a straight line. The shadow of the blade along the ground suddenly grew longer. Fuck, there is no beating him. This was the first time that the great Saint Starkiller, who had thought himself the complete master of the star duels, had this sort of powerless feeling. Faced with Su Xing's Langia flying swords, great Saint Starkiller could only barely defend. He needed to be very cautious in even just approaching. With regards to the always arrogant and proud great Saint Starkiller, let alone how sullen he was, great Saint Starkiller did not dare touch Su Xing directly. Besides those evil suppressing gem bamboo, what great Saint Starkiller was even more concerned about was the moon-seizing star taking on the body of the elegant queen. The noble star Little Whirlwind Chai Jin. This made great Saint Starkiller truly bewildered. The noble star Whirlwind was placed outside of the star duels, having never participated once in the 1,000 years of star duels. How was it that this time, she would on the contrary sign a contract with a man? This simply was somewhat unreasonable. A Chai Jin participating in the star duels was basically more trash than Song Jiang was, right? Could it be that she is not the noble star? Great Saint Starkiller thought to himself. Considerations about Chai Ling's identity made great Saint Starkiller rather nervous. At least, from the looks of that purple star astral treasure, her background was not small. Right, how could this one have forgotten about it? Great Saint Starkiller sneered. Suddenly his hand flipped. A treasure book of sparkling gold appeared. Golden light swirled, lingering everywhere. The birth treasure outline. Liangshan continent had 4 birth treasure outlines, and the netherworlds was in Great Saint Starkiller's hands. Although Great Saint Starkiller felt it was not useful at all, now, it seemed that it could finally show its uses. The treasure book appeared, and Chai Ling's materials immediately hovered above the book. Star position, Noble Star Star name, Chai Jin nickname, Little Whirlwind true name, Chai Ling rank, 10th star weapon, Red Ink Iron Certificate Star Beast, realm, matchless first stage 2 innate skill, help the needy for justice 5 elements, metal 3, yellow rank special move, none dark rank special move, none current status, together to hell cannot be conquered detailed materials. When Great Saint Starkiller saw the material on the book, he was both delighted and shocked. Delighted because the elegant woman in front of him truly was the noble star Whirlwind who had placed herself above the star duels for 1,000 years. Everyone in Liangshan knew about the Little Whirlwind's Red Ink Iron Certificate. If he could kill her and obtain this certificate would practically be a tiger that had grown wings. It was just that for the Chai Ling outside of the star duels, any star master or star general could take her, and she would have no way out. Now things nevertheless were different. Chai Jin entering Evil Smiting Hall signified that the star weapon was incapable of use. In the case she used the Red Ink Iron Certificate, she was participating in the star duels. Concerning the noble star participating in the star duels, the Red Ink Iron Certificate only had one chance to save the user's life. In other words, the current noble star was a paramount magic weapon. What made Great Saint Starkiller shocked was the noble star's status. Together to hell? What thing was this, to unexpectedly even make her incapable of being conquered? However, what also made Great Saint Starkiller set his mind at ease was that the noble star had not signed a contract. Then the Star Master possessing the evil-suppressing gem bamboo flying swords before him also did not have the red ink iron certificate protecting his safety. It seemed this one's purple star astral treasure could finally display its usefulness. Just as he thought this, a blast of wind suddenly poured into his ear. Great Saint Starkiller put away his thoughts, just happening to spot Su Xing had already gotten close enough to attack. Great Saint Starkiller was somewhat infuriated he was being suppressed by Su Xing's evil-suppressing gem bamboo. He was fortunate that he had come from Devil Star Palace, the Netherworld's #1 great sect, which was not inferior to the Azure Dragon Territory's Great Liang Dynasty. Immediately he scratched the air, and several clumps of pitch-dark qi were sent out. This black qi was released, becoming thousands of strands that rolled toward Su Xing. The 12 Lengia immediately protected him, sparkling with bright jadeite light, gradually dissipating this black qi. Great Saint Starkiller smiled. He formed a hand seal. The 1,000 strands of black qi transformed into a black python. The heavenly cycle-changing holy swords also seized the chance to launch an attack. More than 100 starlights trembled in the air. Then they began to one by one eerily disappear from where they were. Instantly they covered Su Xing. However dazzling the 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo's evil-suppressing clear light was, a river pouring down in torrents that seemingly cut open the dense devil qi. This was not Great Saint Starkiller's ultimate goal. What he wanted was to make Su Xing approach him. Join. Great Saint Starkiller faintly smiled. He pointed and began to display the innate skill unrivaled of Guansheng. This scattered dark devil qi once again surged and gathered, as if it was a giant mouth about to swallow Su Xing. Seizing the opportunity, while Su Xing was trapped, Great Saint Starkiller did not stop at all. Rushing, his objective was not Su Xing. Rather, it was the noble star Little Whirlwind. Accept death. Just as Chai Ling was about to take out the evil smiting token to capture the three-eyed wealth-inviting beast, she spotted the attacking Great Saint Starkiller. Moon-seizing star taking activated, the galaxy flowed, and a bright moon rose into the sky. In the 100 meters surrounding her, a gorgeous star barrier appeared. Do not believe you are the only one with a purple star astral treasure, Chao Jin. Great Saint Starkiller was determined to win. His wrist flipped, and a dark red gourd appeared. This gourd was neither iron nor gold, neither wood or porcelain. Who knew what it was made from? But it sparkled with a scathing qi flame. From very far away, it made people feel a scorching heat. Meteor Fall Divine Fire Gourd. 5 Gong Kaiwei could discern the gourd's history. Liangshan continent's astral treasures were not at all numerous, and purple star astral treasures were even fewer. Famous purple star astral treasures were no more than 10, and this Meteor Fall Divine Fire Gourd was considerably out of the ordinary. The fire-red gourd rose into the air, emitting a raging fire. Immediately afterwards, countless fireballs poured down from the mouth of the gourd. Those meteors immediately swelled several hundred times in size upon emerging. That situation was seriously extremely like a meteor shower from space. In the blink of an eye, seemingly hundreds of stones of falling fire directly descended. 6. Upon slamming into moon-seizing star-taking's barrier, the galaxy promptly was evaporated. The Meteor Fall Divine Fire was far from ending, and even Chai Ling felt strained, already unable to maintain moon-seizing star-taking any further. You go capture the star beast and leave this place afterwards. Just leave that to me. Gong Saiwei's expression was cold. Forming hand seals, 36 talismans flew out of her astral bag. These talismans were made from black ice and emitted a cold qi. Each was identically supreme grade. This was the 7 Spirits Black Ice Talisman. 7. The Extreme Ice Holy Palace created. Combined with the black ice cultivation method, 7 Gong Kaiwei cultivated, they could display powerful abilities. The 36 7 Spirits Black Ice Talismans circulated, extending across the whole sky. Shining white light crisscrossed, the talismans glowed, and an enormous magic circle instantly appeared in Gong Saiwei's surroundings. Gong Kaiwei struck hand seals consecutively, uttering an incantation. The 36 Seven Spirits' black ice talismans immediately ignited, transforming into icy balls of light. Following Gong Xiwei's unending chanting, they fully exerted star energy. Those light balls increasingly expanded, instantly reaching the size of a hill. The light of the array was dazzling. When Chai-Ling saw, she promptly did not hesitate. Walking light as smoke, she arrived on the riches and honors Persia, taking out the evil smiting token to begin capture. How could Great Saint Starkiller stare blankly as Chai-Ling left? What sense was there in renouncing fat that was already in his mouth? Great Saint Starkiller shouted, and the meteor-fall divine fire gourd immediately turned wildly, blurring immediately afterwards. Then countless divine fire meteors fell from the sky, just like a dense downpour. In a range of 100 li inside Evil Smiting Hall, the air was a completely surging red cloud. In 50 li, the temperature was high enough to make people sweat profusely. This purple star astral treasure had inconceivable might. Ice soul divided spirit, life does not end go. Gong Xiwei formed the orchid hand seal. The 36 Seven Spirits' black ice talismans shot into the sky. A powerful chill split apart the temperature of the sweltering fire. Between heaven and earth, there was suddenly a tandem dance of fire and ice. Great Saint Starkiller's meteorfall divine fire gourd after all was a purple star astral treasure, and Gong Xiwei merely used her powers combined with the 7 spirit black ice talismans. Even if they were supreme grade talismans, it was difficult to contend against a purple star astral treasure. After a brief moment, 36 ice balls were burned clean away by the divine fire. However, the meteorfall divine fire below the meteorfall divine fire gourd itself was left with only a pitiful bit remaining. Since you do not flee, then this one shall send you on a journey. Great Saint Starkiller was resolute. Just at this moment, a crisis attacked. Great Saint Starkiller leaned without even thinking, and Su Xing's palm fell through. Then, another palm slammed Great Saint Starkiller aside. This was followed with a sweeping kick, and this time, Great Saint Starkiller was unable to dodge, his chin being kicked up. Even if he had the 8 desolate heavenly demon bodies strengthening his physical body, Su Xing's kick nearly broke Great Saint Starkiller's chin, making Great Saint Starkiller become dizzy and blur his sight. He promptly retreated, and when Su Xing wanted to attack again, Great Saint Starkiller's immemorial sword chant already protected his body. Could it be you are that Xiezhen Yuan? Great Saint Starkiller rubbed his hurting chin, grimacing in pain. He did not dare believe that silent and nameless Star Master was capable of hurting him. Could it be he was that number 1 Xiezhen Yuan of the Azure Dragon territory? This was the sole thing Great Saint Starkiller could comfort himself with. So you know too. Su Xing nevertheless did not mind him thinking this. Could it be your star general is Wu Song? Great Saint Starkiller recalled an astonishing fact. As the Netherworld Star Master, Great Saint Starkiller heard bits and phrases of news from the Azure Dragon territory, which were not at all clear, but since he had been praised as the Azure Dragon territory's number 1, it could be assumed that Xiezhen Yuan's Star General was within the top-notch martial generals to be able to pair up with this number 1. The Harm Star Wu Song in front of him indeed was very fitting. Great Saint Starkiller did not care at all about the so-called honor of Wuxia's overlord position. In his belief, the strongest in the star duels joining hands with other strongest was the honor of the star duels. His team with Guaning was thus. Great Saint Starkiller flipped out the birth treasure outline towards Wuxia, but how could Su Xing give him that chance? Great Saint Starkiller had no choice. Again he urged on the meteorfall divine fire gourd. Using the purple star astral treasure once again consumed extremely great amounts of star energy, and Great Saint Starkiller was now an arrow at the end of its path. The meteorfall divine fire gourd sprayed out 2 bolts of meteorfall divine fire that was very feeble, being dissipated by Su Xing's purple cloud true star. The Su Xing who had simply gone through 7 consecutive trips in and out of Evil Smiting Hall also really was not vigorous in terms of strength. Even if he had Wuxia's bottle of recovery potion, he still was somewhat short. For the moment, Great Saint Starkiller and Su Xing fought on even ground. As far as Great Saint Starkiller was concerned, this was practically humiliation. He stared at the Chai-Ling about to capture her star beast. In the end, He could only gnash his teeth and unwillingly request brave Star Guaning for assistance. Quickly come help me get rid of Chai Ling. Besides, Guaning and Wuxia were but locked in battle. The martial force of both sides hardly differed. If it was a close-quarters battle, Wuxia was at an advantage. However, Guaning had the super-powerful 4-star destined weapon. Each time the purple brilliant moon slashing blade hacked, the force made Wuxia feel heavy. Consumed in battle, Wuxia clearly was at a disadvantage. Still you do not leave evil smiting Hall? Guaning shouted aloud. Great blade descended, a phantom seemingly sweeping across Wuxia's defenses. The harm star made an illusory dodge, using her sword tip to block Guanying's slash, releasing a frightening thud. The double-ended sword Noble Frost Demonic Lotus had been jolted into ringing, as if it was groaning. She could not come into direct contact. Wuxia's legs left the ground as she lightly flew backwards. At the same time, her right arm bent and swung, Noble Frost Demonic Lotus carving out a brilliant trail that shot directly at Guaning. Guanying's blade instantly cut down the double-ended sword. Wuxia at this time suddenly tossed it. The sword's power was ample, and even the Brave Star's 4-star purple brilliant moon slashing blade was a bit fatigued. After knocking aside Noble Frost Demonic Lotus, she at the same time showed a gap of weakness. Wuxia was just like a graceful dancer. First aiming then striking, her 5 fingers tightly clenched into a booming punch. Guaning had long already reacted. Opening her right-left hand, her palm suddenly caught Wuxia's fist. Bang! Each of their strengths suddenly exploded. Neither of them were pushed back. Worthy of the Wusong who can drop the white and black unicorn tiger with just her bare hands. The strength of the two competed under the surface. Guanying's smile was not at all relaxed. The Brave Star's star energy stirred. A star energy far surpassing Wuxia's violently shook, knocking Wuxia back several dozen meters. Before she even landed, Guaning raised her large blade, speedily following along, kicking forward. In midair, Wuxia lightly descended, flashing past Guanying's ranged attack. When she stepped back, her hand at the same time caught the falling Noble Frost Demonic Lotus. Afterwards, she reversed and blocked the purple brilliant moon slashing blade. The entire motion fluid as water and clouds. Wuxia's brows kept tightening. The pressure that great blade Guaning gave Wuxia was not at all light. If this continued, even if it was not a 4-star destined weapon, the chances of victory and defeat in facing Guaning were 50-50. If she had a 4-star at hand, Wuxia's victory would have been but assured. After 400 or 500 exchanges, Wuxia's star energy and stamina simultaneously faltered significantly. At times, she was nearly unable to keep up with Guanying's movements, startling her body into a cold sweat. Ha, to be able to battle with you, Wusong, truly makes this general feel great happiness. Guaning currently immersed herself in her battle with Wuxia. Her offensive was like a tide, becoming more and more severe. Wuxia's snow-white skin was split open by several dozen-minute cuts. Her head of gorgeous and flowing long hair was also cut bit by bit, losing 100 strands. Just at this moment, a voice interrupted Guanying's mood. Quickly come help me get rid of Chai Ling. Great Saint Starkiller released an urgent voice. Previously, Guaning had felt Great Saint Starkiller was a talent that supported heaven and earth, prideful and unafraid, extraordinary in martial arts, gifted and outstanding. As the Brave Star Great Blades Master, he was pretty good. How was it that today she would hear such sorry voice? Guaning felt this was ear-piercing. Hesitating a moment, Guaning bit her lip, her expression severe as she pushed Wuxia back with a slash, turning around and leaving immediately afterwards. Unhappiness was unhappiness, and hearing Great Saint Starkiller's pleas, as his contracted star maiden, she could not ignore him. It was just that in Guanying's bones. She did not truly wish to kill Chai Ling, a little sister that was positioned outside of the star duels. Not good. Hearing Great Saint Starkiller unexpectedly call for reinforcements, Su Xing's heart sunk. As he turned his head, Guaning had already arrived, her speed swift to making people feel this was beyond reason. That is the noble star. We absolutely cannot allow her to escape. With the red ink iron certificate, The overlord of Maiden Mountain this generation will undoubtedly be us and no other. Great Saint Starkiller showed his desire. Other than freaks like Su Xing, if anyone else knew the red ink iron certificate was here, they would all be unable to remain calm. Guaning glanced at the Chai Ling currently concentrating on capturing her star beast. With a queen's figure and elegance, she was a beauty, an appearance without the slightest bit of defense. One Azure Dragon Slash could easily settle her. Guaning showed a hesitant expression. Don't think you can do this. Su Xing shouted, raising his sword and charging. Guaning was somewhat angry, her large blade easily knocking aside the flying sword. This general shall kill you first then. Her legs kicked, the large blade slashed. This slash sunk with great power, the wind it lifted directly blowing Su Xing over. Guaning slashed in succession. White light like a swallow quickly turned about, blocking Guanying's advance. The Star Masters dared to show amateur talent before this general. Guaning saw that the two Star Masters had unexpectedly dared to use their swords to directly attack. Coldly grunting, she also forced Gong Kaiwei back. Guaning, where are you going? Behind her again came a cold shout. You came at the perfect time. Guaning turned around to face Wuxia. The girl was like a tigress, and Guaning like the red hair. Wuxia's fingers tightly clenched the double-ended sword. The sword's blade slightly lowered, raising a wind that blew aside the fog. A sharp expression and a long tip combined into a line. The cool and elegant woman suddenly charged forth in a burst of power, the double-ended sword roaring as it slashed, drawing in the air a cold as frost and pitch-black as ink's slender trail. Clang clang. Noble Frost Demonic Lotus descended. Guaning smiled. In an instant, she used the large blade to block this attack, although both her hands were jolted slightly numb by Wuxia's attack. However, she nevertheless did not care in the slightest. She seized the chance to flip her weapon, the great blade advancing from the other direction. Hey! Guanying's furiously shouted and spun the purple brilliant moon slashing blade. A violent blade chi followed along the weapon's surface and shot out. Then the entire shaft of the great blade violently shuddered. This powerful shaking feeling made the webbing between Wuxia's thumb and forefinger tear. With just a loss in spirit, the noble Frost Demonic Lotus in her hands was already knocked out of grasp. The purple brilliant moon slashing blade accompanied with a shout violently slashed downwards, as if she had already caught sight of the scene of purple brilliant moon slashing blade finally cutting down Wuxia. Wind broke with the slash. With everything hanging by a thread, a figure suddenly rushed. Su Xing embraced Wuxia, and with a difficult-to-seize trajectory, he dodged that purple brilliant moon slashing blade's entire sequence of attacks. Even in the instant Guanying's full-power stab hit empty space, he made a thrilling escape. Inger quickly killing Chai Ling is more important. Great Saint Starkiller hurriedly ordered, spotting that Chai Ling was about to finish capturing her star beast. Guansheng, is the honor of your brave star prepared to make a move against a sister that is positioned outside of the star duels? Wuxia shouted. Her figure descended like a swallow. Descending in front of Guaning, the noble Frost Demonic Lotus, in her hand was a pitch-black flecked with snow. There was a bright light, and seemingly countless snow lotuses bloomed. That honestly makes your servant disappointed. Wuxia lowered the double-ended sword. This time she no longer held back. The weapon waved, and a light ray seemingly like snow and ink was just like the most perfect crescent moon in the world drew a beautiful arc in the air. A thrilling beautiful scene flit across their retinas. The snow white that rose along with the light was just like a penetrating and sharp cold light, exuding an incisive aggression. A glance was absolutely terrifying. To speak much less of facing it directly. Moonlight and swordlight enveloped Guaning. In that instant, the colors between heaven and earth had only this scenery. Sensing the might of Wuxia's attack, clearly she had used her dark rank technique. The light fragments following in her heels were just like thousands of blades stabbing at Guaning. Guaning took up purple brilliant moon slashing blade, and sunk into a defensive posture. A crescent moon blossomed from Guanying's abdomen. The brave star was knocked high into the air, and then came falling heavily down. Ing! Great Saint Starkiller turned pale with fright. Guaning climbed up, the armor of her whole body already split open with a terrifying wound, directly leaking blood. Although Wu Xiao's dark rank technique was fierce, the cost was not little. Guanning used her 4-star destined weapon still to block it. Yet the brave star looked at her own wound with some indifference. Inger, how can you stand at the peak of martial artists if you are soft-hearted? Great Saint Starkiller immediately shouted when he saw. How can there be any benevolence to be said in subjugating Maiden Mountain? Could it be the brave stars that have gone by are not lessons? At that time, Qiling was already about to reach the very end of capturing her star beast, and Great Saint Starkiller was greatly worried. These words provoked Guanning. In that instant the girl's eyes reddened. Clenching the great blade tight in her hand, a powerful star energy endlessly concentrated onto purple brilliant moon-slashing blade. An incomparable aggression intimidated all directions. Su Xing and Gong Kaiwei felt as if they could not move, as if that Guanning had turned into an enormous mountain. Careful, it is her dark rank technique. When Wu Xiao saw, her expression changed for the first time. A completely red blaze engulfed the sky, becoming several dozen fire dragons. Guan Ying's eyes were red, as if she was cackling, her frost-fair blade once again rising and returning. Powerful and unyielding, the several dozen fire dragon were like laughable scraps of paper. Within the might of total annihilation, they easily were ground to pieces. Su Xing did not retreat. Though the fire dragons shattered, his sword tip nevertheless did not withdraw, pointing directly at Guan Ying's chest. Guan Ying's wrist moved. Before her blade technique executed, the blade chi of total annihilation already wildly swelled and surged. She attacked Su Xing, leaving him battered and bruised. At this moment, the Su Xing covered in dirt basically was too busy to go think about this. In his mind there was only one thought. He absolutely could not allow Wu Xiao to take on Guan Ying's dark rank technique alone. The purple brilliant moon-slashing blade carried an endless intense wind that cut apart the clinging fire, sweeping away Su Xing's attack, thus easily cutting it down. Countless afterimages of the purple brilliant moon-slashing blade appeared in the air, all of them just like the real thing, indistinguishable. Each of the afterimages was full of a sharp murderous spirit, yet hollow enough that it would disappear at any time on its own. Su Xing watched dumbstruck. For a Star Master to go contend against the brave star's dark rank technique, the end result could not be more clear. The countless indistinguishable afterimages of the purple brilliant moon-slashing blade attacked Su Xing from the front. They looked as if they were about to pierce Su Xing into honeycomb. Su Xing yelled, and the clinging fire star domain sword flew out, its fire burning the heavens. However, in the blink of an eye, it was extinguished by Guan Ying's blade chi. The sword's edge cracked. The clinging fire star domain sword split apart again and again. Soon, this heavenly spirit astral treasure was about to be destroyed under total annihilation. Suddenly someone pulled him. Before he could react, he was pulled aside to evade the blade technique. That is enough already. Wu Xiao's white clothes blocked his line of sight. The pilgrim engaged in a sword dance, very flowing and smooth. A cracking sound. A piece of 7-colored rainbow jade cracked on the spot before Tang Lianxin's eyes. Little sister Lianxin, you are all right? What is the matter? The girls inside the immortal's abode drew close in astonishment. Tang Lianxin had been helping the sisters refine the iridescent rainbow-colored glass jade. With the great sun essence flame butterfly, the solitary star's tool refinement was even more perfect than ever before. What her heart wished for, her hands accomplished. It was just that she did not know why when she was refining one piece of colored glass jade, Tang Lianxin felt ill at ease. Tool refinement required a tool refinement master's highest concentration. They absolutely could not be distracted. With this distraction, that piece of colored glass jade immediately shattered. Apologies. Tang Lianxin lowered her head in guilt. It is rare for little sister Lianxin to show this sort of mistake. Is it because of Su Xing? Shi Yuan said. She turned her head to gaze at Wu Xinjie. I was also somewhat uneasy refining the 5 poisons banner just now. My heart always has been somewhat not too at ease. In actuality, it was not just her. How could the brows of Ensuwen Yin Yizhen, Gong Sun Huang and Lining Mei also not knit somewhat in worry. All of the girls turned their gazes to look at the mastermind knowledge star. Although they did not know of Wu Song's aid, Su Xing could not possibly have had something happen to him. Even so, their hearts generally were somewhat not too relaxed. Upon entering Evil Smiting Hall, the link between Star Contractor and Star General was blocked. However, they occasionally still could sense something. Be at ease, with Chai Ling present, there definitely will not be anything. Wu Xinjie said. Why would Sister Xinjie say with Chai Ling present? And Suwen softly said, somewhat confused. Compared to the noble star, the harm star clearly was even more worthy of confidence. The other girls were also puzzled by the mystery of Wu Xinjie's words. Could it be because of Chai Ling's red ink iron certificate? However, she is unable to use it. And what astral treasure does she have? Wu Xinjie slightly smiled, saying, let alone that Chai Ling and young lord ingested the together to hell, by entering Evil Smiting Hall, she will not be so reckless. If Xinji has not guessed wrongly. Wu Xinjie directed her gaze to the maids Jinji and Yuye that accompanied Chai Ling. Noblewoman Chai ought to have sought out the divine mathematician Jiang Jing for a divination, correct? And Jinji and Yuye nodded. Chai Ling has found the divine mathematician? Lining Mei's brow slightly furrowed. If this was true, then indeed, this could let them relax a little bit. Regardless of how it was put, Jiang Jing's divine calculation was famous far and wide. It seems we were too worried, haha. The girls breathed a sigh of relief. Wu Xinjie smiled, though her eyes nevertheless had a trace of graveness. Heavy breathing penetrated the air. Each breath carried total suffering. Su Xing and Wu Xiao both withdrew. The two already were beaten black and blue. Slightly shuddering, they gazed at Guan Ying's great blade with grave and stern expressions. Wu Song, you still do not leave? Could it be you truly wish to die? Guaning was confused. Shouting aloud, she flipped her great blade around, already adopting a second attack stance. Wu Xiao gripped the already not so steady noble frost demonic lotus. The weapon followed its master's thoughts and did not lose its cool grace. In her eyes was an indifference that did not retreat. Her answer was very clear. This general truly does not understand you. Guaning was angry. Wu Song already was clearly at a disadvantage. She had with her a 4-star destined weapon, so Wu Song basically did not have the slightest chance of victory. Even if it was that sort of clingy battle, she ought to stop before going too far. Guansheng, of course you would not understand. Having lost the spirit of the warrior, the brave star already is no longer the brave stars of past. Wu Xiao was resolute. Inger, do not listen to her deluded lies. Quickly kill Chai Jin. Chai Ling was already at the final moments of capturing her star beast. The light rays of the evil smiting token already became even brighter. In fewer than several dozen seconds, any hopes of obtaining the red ink iron certificate would be thoroughly lost. At such a chance bestowed by heaven, the ordinarily calm Great Saint Starkiller was somewhat worried crazy. Seeing his attitude, Wu Xiao sneered. This must be your master? Guaning grit her teeth, angrily shouting. Then Star Duel. Guaning raised her great blade and once again rushed at Wu Xiao. You go protect Chai Ling. Wu Xiao ordered. Su Xing nodded. He knew that he had no chance at all of victory should he continue facing the brave star. Dragging her heavy body, Wu Xiao forged on with hardly any fear. The soul of the warrior burned, making Guaning feel scorched. The great blade and the double sword once again clashed and emitted gorgeous sparks. The two figures immediately sunk into the lights and shadows of blade and sword. Bastard, how can this one allow you to escape? Great Saint Starkiller was mad. He could not let Chai Ling go. His figure bolted, directly rushing forward to attack. Chai Ling's expression slightly cooled. Her moon-seizing star taking had already lost its light, circulating the evil smiting writ. She nevertheless did not care for Great Saint Starkiller's attack. She knew there was a man who would fulfill his promise. Great Saint Starkiller, your opponent is me. Su Xing shouted. Although his whole body was injured, his aggression did not falter. Savage. Flying swords each twisted in battle, their powers incessant. Relying on the 8 desolate heavenly demon body, Great Saint Starkiller madly charged onwards, prepared to use his corporeal body to directly beat Su Xing back. Great Saint Starkiller's offensive was like howling wind and torrential rain that struck upon Su Xing's body. Relying on his formidable speed to instantly approach his target, that rush's impact force was sufficient to rip apart powerful defenses. Add on that the moment he drew close, Great Saint Starkiller's battle style was ferocious and tyrannical. Black Chi wildly materialized, bearing claws and fangs. But Great Saint Starkiller clearly forgot there was another person present. At practically the moment he launched his attack, he instinctively sensed a type of extremely dangerous feeling. Suddenly at that moment, cold ice suddenly rose. An ice-cold freezing frost like a blade stabbed with a whistle. Great Saint Starkiller was startled. The skin of his whole body immediately caught the cold frost, and a bone-chilling cold dug inside his body, and his body's reactions gradually became slow. How could Gong Kaiwei stare blankly as Su Xing gave his all to go against the wind? Originally, she had ran to this shiny place to divert a calamity. She did not expect to actually encounter Su Xing, and the slight guilt in her heart transformed into strength. Su Xing and Gong Kaiwei worked together. Great Saint Starkiller was battered and exhausted. A meow resounded in all four directions. This sound made Great Saint Starkiller feel indignant and unreconciled. Su Xing, this palace has captured the Star Beast. We are leaving. Chai Ling's heart was delighted. Her sleeve waved as she immediately spoke. Facing Guansheng, the little whirlwind recognized she was not currently an opponent. It was not advisable to linger here for too long. Good. Su Xing also had this plan. Xiao. Wuxia heard and nodded. Damn it. Great Saint Starkiller was furious. Just when Su Xing and Chai Ling prepared for the opportunity to leave Evil Smiting Hall, suddenly, Su Xing saw the motionless Gong Kaiwei. His heart abruptly jumped. Kaiwei, you leave first. There is no need to mind me. I have my own means. Gong Kaiwei said. Su Xing. Chai Ling already finished the preparations to leave. The Wuxia on that side was close to being unable to bear Guansheng. She looked at the hesitating Su Xing, and in those elegant eyes, a surprised expression appeared. What is the matter? I cannot leave. Su Xing looked at Gong Kaiwei, softly answering. Someone's heart was disturbed. I cannot leave. Su Xing's tone was serious. Even the Chai Ling who handled affairs without getting flustered felt goosebumps of surprise when she heard Su Xing's exclamation. Su Xing, have you gone insane? Su Xing did not answer. He only glanced at Gong Kaiwei, the contents inside his expression very clear. He could not allow Gong Kaiwei to remain here alone. This was not at all the so-called heart of beauty, and neither did his brain go mad. As one who had a soldier's blood down to the bone, abandoning comrades absolutely could not be permitted. Gong Kaiwei's heart was flustered. She clearly was more astonished than Chai Ling. I still do not need you to come take pity on me. Gong Kaiwei revealed tracing snow. Because the girl's consciousness was expanding, the feeble snowy wind flowed with a colorful splendor. Su Xing, are you thinking with your penis? Can one woman so easily dominate your life? This is too disappointing to this palace. Chai Ling's expression was very disdainful. Her eyes had an unconcealable feeling of disappointment. She had originally felt that Su Xing was different from all the other Star Masters she had seen and known, and she had a considerably favorable feeling. However, Su Xing's current conduct unavoidably made Chai Ling feel that the men under heaven were animals that thought with their lower halves, a revolting behavior. Are you a Star Master or not? To unexpectedly care about the life and death of other Star Masters? Chai Ling sneered, and she was just about to pinch apart the evil smiting writ. If they knew, they definitely would be thoroughly disappointed. Hey, Chai Ling, don't make it seem like I want to die? How could Su Xing's expression have felt any bit of urgency? His eyes completely lacked fear. On the contrary, it was filled with resolution. Gong Kaiwei, although you aren't my woman, you are my friend. Whoever is willing to abandon a friend and flee with his tail between his legs can go do so. Su Xing's tone of voice did not have the least bit of leeway. This made little whirlwind Chai Ling and Gong Kaiwei dumbstruck. Chai Ling was rendered speechless by Su Xing's words. The noble star chuckled and actually did not shatter the evil smiting writ. Rather, she had a sort of seeming smile, aiming a seemingly curious expression at Su Xing. As expected, he still made her feel something somewhat special about him. Ha 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 ha. The great Saint Star Killer who had just thought of despairing now howled with laughter. Originally, when Chai Jin captured the star beast, he had already given up hope on the red ink iron certificate. He did not expect the mountain path would wind back. This #1 star master of the Azure Dragon territory truly was thoroughly stupid, ridiculous to the extreme. Friend, truly you are pedantic. If the uprightness of the Azure Dragon territory is like this, that truly is to the satisfaction of everyone. Great Saint Star Killer disdainfully laughed. The star duels could only have one victor, and friends were but a legend. Inger, what are you still hesitating for? Great Saint Starkiller's tone changed, severely shouting. Bang! The sound of thunder jolted. With a crisp ring, Wuxia was sent flying. Brave Star Guaning raised the frost fair blade and already rushed over. A powerful, intimidating aura, was just like a surging tide. This one actually wants to see if this Xiezhen Yuan is all big talk, or truly does not wish to abandon his friend. Let this one see. Great Saint Starkiller's attitude was arrogant, his tone filled with mockery. He attempted to use words to trap Su Xing from changing his ideas. Seeing Su Xing's manner of not changing countenance even if Mount Tai were to collapse, Great Saint Starkiller sneered. He did not care one bit for the justice of the opponent in front of him. The noble star showing such ignorance made him even happier. Wu Song seemed to have found an old-fashioned star master. This one will make you pay the price. You deserve praise for your courage. Yet there is merely nothing more. Do you believe you can protect her? Chai Ling's tone was stern. To be able to be looked upon by the knowledge star, Su Xing clearly was not that sort of impulsive person. The little whirlwind still truly did not believe anyone could abandon 7 sweet ladies for one woman on the verge of death. You need not mind me. We do not owe each other debts. Gong Saiwei's whole body had been jolted into trembling by Guan Ying's intimidating aura. Her expression was unwilling to concede defeat. Relax, Gong Kaiwei. I naturally will not die together with you for love. Su Xing tried to lighten the mood. Gong Saiwei's brows rose, somewhat speechless. What time was it now? Yet he still was cracking jokes. Gong Kaiwei truly could not fathom how the mind of the man in front of her worked. Seeing Su Xing's resolute profile, Gong Kaiwei only felt her heart was very disordered. Wu Xiao's sword blocked Guaning. The sword's edge blew with frost. Guaning clenched both her hands, and the frost fair blade heavily slashed down. A figure flashed by. Great blade swiftly flew, jolting with the imposing air of thousands of soldiers and tens of thousands of horses. Wu Xiao was directly sent flying, and with a light somersault, she landed near Su Xing. Xiao, you leave first, leave this place to me. Su Xing promptly said. Wu Xiao seemed to have not heard, for she was motionless. How can your servant abandon Lord Husband? Lord Husband, her cool and elegant address made everyone present shocked. Lord Husband. Great Saint Starkiller was incredulous. He could not help but be somewhat envious. Although this Lord Husband address made Su Xing's heart taste honey, it was too late to savor. Su Xing nervously shouted. Wifey, if you truly do not leave, then we genuinely will die together for love. Wu Xia was blank upon hearing his words. Did you forget the matter that time with the Rock Demon King? I have my own means. Su Xing hinted. Wu Xiao immediately understood Su Xing's plan. Chaotic tail escape. In actuality, Su Xing's plan was very simple. The Guansheng that had captured a star beast could only remain in Evil Smiting Hall for a day. So long as he could sustain for this one day, that would be all. By the time Wu Xiao left Evil Smiting Hall, Su Xing would rely on the chaotic tail escape to escape left and right. To break away from Guansheng still was not as easy as turning over his hand. This forbidden technique, the chaotic tail escape, had already been strictly prohibited by the beauties after experiencing the 3 Burrows crafty rabbit. The chaotic tail escape's usage frequency was increasing, and the burden on himself also turned more severe. The so-called self-defeat 800, kill 1,000 enemies was thus If because he used the chaotic tail escape and landed in an undefeated of the East situation, that would be a gain that did not make up for the losses. However, with the situation having reached this stage, he believed they would make an exception. Lord Husband is unwilling to abandon a friend, and how can your servant oppose Lord Husband? Wuxia was not joking. The pilgrim abandoning her Lord Husband and fleeing alone was something she absolutely could not do. Things at this time became considerably contradictory and comical. Su Xing did not want to abandon Gong Kaiwei, and thus he could not leave Evil Smiting Hall. And Wuxia could not abandon her Lord Husband to leave alone. Then allow this one to send all of you to your deaths. Great Saint Starkiller was intimidating. At this time, Guaning already was imposingly and brilliantly standing in front of him. Is this man worthy of dying for? Brave Star Guanying's tone was hard as steel. Compared to the brave star who would act against a sister that placed herself outside of the star duels, how would your servant need you to warn us? Wuxia snorted disdainfully. These words hurt Guaning, making the girl's smile turn cold. That was just like a tiger or wolf-like expression glaring at Su Xing. Inger, quickly kill them. Make them know the price of playing the hero, the cruelty of the star duels. Great Saint Starkiller said. Guaning gripped tight the frost fair blade, her 5 knuckles tight enough to turn white. But she nevertheless did not act. Brave Star Guaning. What are you doing? This one orders you, kill Chaijin. Great Saint Starkiller's tone sunk, and he was furious. The 2 star crests flickered. The contract's command enforcement made the blood of Guanying's whole body boil. They could see that Guaning had already shook off the idea of facing Chaijin, but the Star Master's orders made her appear very conflicted. If you want to kill Chaijin, then you will have to first step over your servant's corpse. Wuxia's eyes flickered with a regretful sigh. Suddenly, she shouted and swiftly attacking, she just happened to help Guaning out of her predicament. This general obeys your command. Guanying's tone was serious. They repeated the already unknown several hundred exchanges of blows. Things currently were considerably hard on Su Xing. On one hand, he could not possibly abandon Gong Kaiwei and escape. On the other, he even more could not possibly allow Wuxia to place herself in danger. Su Xing's heart honestly was torn to pieces, and Gong Kaiwei wanting to seize a chance to flee was not likely. There was still a Great Saint Starkiller staring. Although the Langia suppressed his flying sword ability, he was the Netherworld's #1, after all. If he only had to trap them here to death, Great Saint Starkiller was capable of doing so. Great Saint Starkiller actually began to steady. He looked at Su Xing with an expression full of mockery, thinking to himself that he was truly fortunate today to have encountered such a stupid Star Master. It seemed heaven itself was helping him through the 9th generation star duels. This was destiny. So long as he waited for Guaning to kill the most problematic Wu Song, by that time, the other 2 Star Masters with the noble star would be fish meat on the chopping board, helpless to his slaughter. Our hero Su Xing, what good countermeasure do you have right now? Chai Ling pet the riches and honors Persia sitting in her bosom as she seemingly smiled. Chai Ling, do you have any way that can persuade Xiao? Su Xing was somewhat anxious. To persuade her to leave. This palace does not know what means you used to make Wuxia unexpectedly recognize you as Lord Husband, but since you can make her say as much, do you feel that the harm star will abandon you? Under heaven, you are not the only one willing to abandon certain people. Chai Ling said these words as she looked at the completely powerless Gong Kaiwei. This woman actually was somewhat of an incorruptible beauty. No wonder she could make men pity her. Chai Ling tightly pursed her lips. Gong Kaiwei was taciturn. Right, Chai Ling, you come a bit closer. I have something to say to you. Su Xing suddenly mysteriously smiled. He pulled Chai Ling over and drew near her ear. Their bodies pressed close, and an especially masculine air poured into her ear, making Chai Ling lose her gracefulness. Her face turned red. Even Gong Kaiwei's gaze was drawn by the pair's intimate whispering, disturbing her heart, which calmed only with great difficulty. Wuxia currently was struggling hard for him, yet he unexpectedly was flirting with another woman. This made Gong Kaiwei's heart somewhat sour. A gap. Great Saint Starkiller saw Chai Ling was inattentive, abruptly forming a hand seal. His flying swords transformed into countless circles of qi that wound around Su Xing. Then he used an escape technique to rush over, his fingertips trembling in excitement. Just when I was worried you wouldn't come. Su Xinglong had been monitoring Great Saint Starkiller's each and every movement. He could not overcome the 4-star Guanyin, but he nevertheless had 100% confidence about Great Saint Starkiller. Blue light crisscrossed, a purple thunder lightning net formed, and then a purple cloud hand grabbed. 3 abilities simultaneously appeared. Great Saint Starkiller's expression changed. The heavenly cycle-changing holy sword blocked, but Chai Ling smiled. Curling a white finger, an object flew out from her cloud bun. At the same time, the riches and honor Persia opened its third eye, firing a Milky Way-like blinding light of gold. Instantly, it annihilated Great Saint Starkiller's black qi. Not good, this was a trap. Great Saint Starkiller's pupils shrunk. The hairpin that flew out of Chai Ling's hair firmly pinned him. Then, trapped by the purple lightning net, the hand grabbed him. Great Saint Starkiller already was without a way out. He saw that Great Saint Starkiller was about to flee a calamity, but the moment that what Su Xing loathed the most appeared, Great Saint Starkiller shouted with only the severe yell of primordial chaos of origin, "Assist my great path!" That voice instantly ended. A dragon cry rose through the 9 firmaments, surging over. A purple talisman jumped out from top of his head. This talisman's tadpole-like characters transformed into countless pieces that swam away. The purple mansion immortal thunder net, and the purple cloud heaven suppressing stillness hand were run through with a crash by the pervasive purple light. The remaining sharpness expanded all around, forcing Su Xing and Chai Ling to retreat step by step. By the time they adjusted, Great Saint Starkiller already used the heavenly cycle-changing holy sword and a supreme-grade talisman, Primal Origin Primordial Chaos Talisman. 2. To set up a powerful Origin of the Universe Heavenly Cycle Sword Array. 3. By doing so, Great Saint Starkiller could not exit, but Su Xing and the others could not enter. Truly damnable. Great Saint Starkiller cursed. He had never felt so humiliated. The tailwind and smooth sailing of the previous 10 years seemingly was not complete misfortune at this moment. To be forced to use even his life-protecting Primal Origin Primordial Chaos Talisman, this was an enormous stroke of bad luck. No, so long as he could kill the Noble Star and obtain the Red Ink Iron Certificate, let alone a supreme-grade talisman, even 10 Primal Origin Primordial Chaos Talismans were worth it. But he needed to kill the Noble Star to make it worthwhile. Watching Su Xing's damned evil-suppressing gem bamboo Langia, Great Saint Starkiller inwardly seethed. Inger, what are you still dawdling for? Quickly dispatch Wu Song and dispose of the Noble Star. In the center of the array, Great Saint Starkiller currently had ample time to calm himself. Seeing that Guanyin unexpectedly still was entangled with Wuxia, his heart was somewhat infuriated. At this moment, Great Saint Starkiller actually wanted to look at just what Wu Song's background was. Flipping open the birth treasure outline, the record that appeared on the surface left Great Saint Starkiller dumbstruck. What? No contract? How could it be that there is no contract? Just who are you? Great Saint Starkiller stared at Su Xing in shock. At this man who made the Harm Star Pilgrim address him as Lord Husband. Was this bastard a monster? He did not contract the Noble Star, did not contract the Harm Star, yet this motherfucker was this intimate with 2 heavenly stars. On that side, hearing Great Saint Starkiller's envious cry, Great Blade Guanyin no longer neglected Wuxia. Little sister, you have not signed a contract? Guanyin was astonished. Why? To even be hell-bent on addressing that man as Lord Husband. Compared to this general, are you not an even greater disgrace, Wu Song? Guanyin was furious. Her hand lifted the blade and fell, a cold light manifesting. A wound deep enough to show bone appeared on Wuxia's body, yet the pilgrim's cool elegance did not diminish. The Noble Star can allow your servant to follow Lord Husband into Evil Smiting Hall. Can your master achieve the same? Wuxia waved her sword. On the basis of the current Su Xing exhibiting bold conduct and deeds inside Evil Smiting Hall, Wuxia recognized he was her Lord Husband without question. and compared to Great Saint Starkiller wholeheartedly obsessed with killing the noble star to obtain the red ink iron certificate, the superior of the two was obvious. On this point, Guanyin was incapable of refuting, yet she was somewhat indignant. That man's graceful words and flowery speech are merely exploiting you. In the previous generations of star duels, Wu Song, have you ever heard of a star master that dared not pursue fame and riches? This is merely the trend of the star duels. If your man is not extremely stupid, then he has other plans. Wuxia showed an expression of elder sister, how lamentable. Without any reply, Wuxia did not at all think further of taking an advantage with words. Noble Frost demonic lotus was wielded with all her strength. Several hundred threads of sword chi like scattered snow lotus petals covered the skies and earth and pounced towards brave star Guanyin. Each flower petal bore a ray of black light, a mournful black light. These sword chi became flower petals that seemingly were raindrops, sprinkling forth in enormous torrents from the sword tip. After colliding with each other, the fragments became even smaller fragments, but each droplet was still deadly as before. In the case there was a cut, perhaps even steel would be cut in two. Under these sorts of circumstances, it was possible for even Guanyin to be injured enough to be defeated because of a careless gap. However, Great Blade was experienced, unparalleled in battle. With a 4-star destined weapon in hand, the most supreme divine weapon at the current phase, any 1-star general would shudder. The entire earth shuddered with a storm. The petals completely fragmented. Wuxia grit her teeth. Her forehead overflowed with cold sweat, raising the shuddering double-ended sword with an even quicker speed. A sword chi in unbroken succession instantly constructed an inescapable net. Not only did this control Guanying's entire blade chi, it also sealed shut her path of retreat. Truly worthy of the Harm Star. A top-notch martial general. To be able to be so unruffled before a 4-star destined weapon. Locked in a stalemate for so long, but that should end soon. After an expression of praise, there was endless exclamation. No matter how much more you feign righteousness, when it truly came to your turn, your true identity will be revealed in the end. Even if this chance was any easier, you would not be willing to face danger with your body. Wusong, do you see? This is your Lord Husband. This is the true face of the Star Master. The past has always been like this. There have never been changes. But Guansheng's smile immediately disappeared. She saw that man suddenly rush at her, empty-handed, but his intimidating air was like the fierce tiger of a mountain, unexcelled in all the world. Put away that opinionated pity of yours. Don't use 3, go ahead and use 30, 300 slashes even. Your servant shall keep you company. Guanying's expression moved. This general actually wants to see with what virtue or capability can make Wuxia recognize you as her husband. Great Blade, Guansheng shouted, slashing without the least bit of hesitation. A biting cold wind ran through the frost-fair blade. The aggression of this first slash was unparalleled in its tyranny. Besides Chailing, everyone was dumb as a wooden chicken. Wuxia suddenly understood. Su Xing only wanted to stall for time to allow her to leave Evil Smiting Hall. Is your servant truly to flee? Wuxia faintly sighed. To a first-rate martial 4-star general that had never signed a contract like Wuxia, fleeing was a something that did not need to be mentioned at all. Particularly after they became complete star generals, the moment the star duels began already drew closer. Fleeing was equal to death. At that moment, Su Xing wanted to have her leave Evil Smiting Hall. Besides not being able to leave Lord Husband behind, there was another important reason for this. She would rather fight to the death, and she was unwilling to drift without purpose. This was the creed of a stubborn star general. At this moment, seeing Su Xing surprisingly truly want to battle the brave star, besides being heartbroken, Wuxia was distressed. She could not deny it. The moment that resolute back was submerged by Guansheng's purple brilliant moon-slashing blade, Wuxia truly treated Su Xing as the man other than the Star Maiden sisters that was worth believing in. When Su Xing did this, the difficult decision was far from as easy as some business deal. Is there only escape? Wuxia faintly sighed. She had been convinced by this man. There is no need to do this. A warm as jade voice came into Wuxia's ear. The noble star little whirlwind Chai Jin walked to her side, gracefully dressed. Her face wore a calm expression. Wuxia's brow wrinkled, not understanding why the noble star would say this. Su Xing doing this is for your sake, Chai Ling. Wuxia was somewhat angry at the noble star little whirlwind's seeming carefreeness. Yes, it is very vivid in this palace's memory, to have seen a never-before-seen star master. Chai Ling spoke bluntly. But you do not need to escape from evil smiting hall. This palace thinks that you, the harm star, must not at all be reconciled to leave like this? Right in front of your lord husband. The queen's graceful words were of direct and true intent. Her thoughts suddenly difficult to understand. Wuxia had no choice but to concede that Chai Ling was indeed sharp in assessing people. Then do not flee, calmly watch your lord husband. He shall bring you victory. Chai Ling faintly smiled. This time, not only Wuxia, but also the Gong Kaiwei to the side was baffled and confused. Was she joking? Su Xing was but confronting the ranked 5th top-notch Marshal General Brave Star with his bare hands. Anyone else would not believe Su Xing could bring about victory, let alone that she was with a 4-star destined weapon, unrivaled of the 5th stage. Even if Su Xing was at peak state, to face Guansheng like this was a dead end, absolutely without a second possibility. Believe in this palace. Although the Brave Star has contracted with the great Saint Starkiller of the Netherworld, in her bones still is the spirit of a martial general. Su Xing is truly an adorably cunning man, using that sort of method to stir Guansheng's soul. How can the Brave Star use full power? Chai Jin smiled. Just this can achieve victory? Gong Xiwei's tone had worry that even she herself was not clear about. It cannot. Chai Ling's manner simply made the two very furious. But it can allow little sister Xiao obtain victory, Chai Ling said. Her words left the two at a loss. Just why are you saying this? Riches and honor come from danger, but a defeat in a millennium. Chai Ling calmly said, her tone containing an incomprehensible mystery. What is the meaning of this? Chai Ling explained. This is what this palace specially sought out Shui to calculate in coming to Evil Smiting Hall. Shui. And who else is there? The ranked 53rd Meet Star Divine Mathematician Jiang Jing. Chai Ling elegantly opened the golden thread feather fan. So it turned out that when she came to Evil Smiting Hall originally, although Chai Ling and Su Xing had ingested the together to hell, her heart always was not too at ease, knowing that the noble star had on her the most supreme treasure that all of Liangshan coveted, the red ink iron certificate. Who would not want this gold plate that avoided death? In the case she entered Evil Smiting Hall, she was incapable of leaving for 3 days. If she was locked onto, Chai Ling was dead without debt. Chai Ling was somewhat worried Su Xing would kill her in Evil Smiting Hall, and use the red ink iron certificate afterwards to avoid a calamity. Before this, regarding Star Masters, Little Whirlwind was like the majority of the sisters and maintained absolute doubt and contempt, so before she entered Evil Smiting Hall, she specially sought out the 53rd ranked Meet Star Divine Mathematician Jiang Jing. Diving Mathematician Jiang Jing was a spiritual energy star general, degenerate in martial arts, but she had an extremely incredible ability. This was divine calculation. She would use a hymn that could calculate the good and bad luck of a situation. The hymn Jiang Jing gave Chai Ling was, riches and honor come from danger, but a defeat in a millennium. Any way this is heard, this must be a barely satisfactory hymn? Gong Kaiwei said. Indeed, that defeat in a millennium was uncomfortable any way it was heard. Chai Jin for nearly 1,000 years had been placed outside of the star duels. This defeat certainly was not talking about her, right? However, as for this hymn's first part, Chai Ling had already recognized it. Riches and honor come from danger. The meaning was not that she could go this time if she could obtain riches and honors. In brief, as for the defeat in a millennium, it actually made Chai Ling feel confused. It was just that since she could capture a star beast, Chai Ling did not concern herself with this defeat in a millennium. Following Wuxia entering together with her, Chai Ling then gradually felt that this defeat in a millennium was not necessarily speaking about herself. The harm star pilgrim Wusong also was an exceedingly cool and elegant star general for 1,000 years. Perhaps it was related to her. Therefore, until Wuxia addressed Su Xing as Lord Husband, only then did Qiling finally understood who this part of the hymn referred to. But what relation does this have to do with your servant defeating Guansheng? Wuxia was not coy about this matter of naturally recognizing Su Xing as her Lord Husband. There is, and the link is very big. Since this is defeat in a millennium, to be clear, this man is very important to you. And since you recognize him as Lord Husband, then it should be expected that you ought to know what the critical point is. Qiling smiled. Wuxia was stunned. Direct and true intent. Thought suddenly difficult to understand. This is the true pilgrim Wusong. Even if you do not want to sign a contract, could it be that watching your Lord Husband go die for you, confronting a terrifying star general, Wusong, do you still wish to escape? Qiling continued smile. Gong Kaiwei blankly looked at Su Xing, somewhat in disbelief. What the hell has he been doing these days? Nevertheless, the moment Su Xing entered barehanded into the range of Guan Ying's great blade, even Great Saint Starkiller was greatly frightened. This #1 Star Master of the Azure Dragon territory was not an idiot, was he? To unexpectedly dare to come into close contact with a star general. Guaning wore praise for him. The frost-fair blade in her hand hardly hesitated. The intimidating air of the first slash was scathing in power, absolutely tyrannical. Before she could react, a purple blade net cut everything to pieces, sustaining the full power strike of brave star great blade Guaning without any tears. It was without any holes, but at the same time, it was without any elegance. Simple, fatal, and completely without any way out. The concentrated air was ripped apart by the sword chi that the sword light stirred, releasing an indistinct whistling sound. The blade's edge that was nearly in reach was like bloodthirsty fang. Guaning curled the corner of her mouth, however. That smile immediately soured. In her bright pupils, Su Xing's tranquil expression appeared much more brilliant than her tyrannical blade light. That simple expression ignored the terrible circumstances he was about to face. In the next second, Su Xing flickered, allowing the wildly fierce blade chi to ruthlessly slash at his stomach. His silhouette flashed, a fist waved, and purple true chi suddenly appeared without flourish like a sharp blade, shooting directly forward. Instantly, the time between the two of them had seemingly froze. Guaning was calm as a well without ripples. This slash was far from ended. Flinging her arm, suddenly woman and weapon shot forward together. In the next instant, following the movements of this slash, a blade wind reaching several hundred meters in width violently shot out of the frost-fair blade, directly pouncing at Su Xing, not giving him any chance to run. Su Xing's fists launched purple mansion immortal thunder. The frantic purple thunder and blade chi rolled together, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the next instant, Guaning retracted the great blade, and the figure retaining a frightening blade chi once again slashed. This time, the sharp edge did not stop at all as it broke through Su Xing's defenses. His silhouette shattered. A projection. Guaning was stunned. Mirror image talisman. Su Xing appeared behind her, his 5 fingers tearing over like a dragon claw. But what sort of character was the ranked 5th brave star? Extremely quickly, she turned her body, her mighty shadow just like a phantom. Against the matchless 5th stage Guaning, relying on a talisman the likes of the mirror image talisman was just laughable. In the next second, the purple brilliant moon slashing blade already slashed at Su Xing. The great blade attacked with a speed incapable of being grasped by the naked eye. The sword light was nearly invisible, and the two fought all over the entire area. From time to time, the air was swept over by sharp slashes, and then it immediately let out a miserable ripping sound. Not only that, but the earth, stones, air and even the dark clouds in the skies were rolled into the berserk sword wind, successively dropping from on high and becoming shreds. The sparks illuminating her objective, and the dizzying darkness of the afterimages she brought were dazzling against the sky. The Su Xing, whose body was in the middle of the saber light, seemed to be pinned by the pressure of a mountain. Guan Ying's first slash made him taste fear. A prick of cold light suddenly carved past his eyes, and there was a crisp noise. At last, Guan Ying's first slash declared its end. What a fraud this was! Su Xing thought, fuck. Although this slash passed by no more than a hair's breadth. Only by placing himself within did he feel that this single slash was even more powerful than 100 slashes. Then, Chai Ling happened to say defeat in a millennium. Guan Ying's hearing was superb, catching on to the words Chai Ling spoke, yet she nevertheless showed a disapproving sternness. Not bad. To unexpectedly be capable of avoiding this general's first slash, this general thus admits that you are a man. Guan Ying's praise came from the bottom of her heart. Tisk, shouldn't a woman be admitting that someone is a man at some other place? For example, in bed. Su Xing certainly was not accepting her praise. To call that slash a haunting by Sadako was just about right. Guaning laughed aloud, her straightforwardness making the flirty Su Xing somewhat embarrassed. Why don't you ask your own wife about this point? Guaning nodded. Seeing that Wuxia had not escaped, Su Xing was inwardly worried. However, hearing Chai Ling's words also made his mind perplexed. You will not be so fortunate anymore with the second slash. This general will cut you down without mercy. Guaning expressionlessly said. Oh, Su Xing smiled silent. The skies were even more gloomy, and the dark clouds seemingly were about to overwhelm evil smiting hall. The air was silent. After a rumbling boom, it seemingly set off this dead-end atmosphere, and a majestic heavy rain poured down. In the rain, the two were completely motionless. The rainwater followed along their hair, flowed down their brows, dripped across their foreheads, wet their eyes, blurred their lines of sight. The blood on Guan Ying's body was washed clean away by the rainwater, and the injuries on Su Xing's body were likewise washed thoroughly. The rainwater was still cut apart by fighting intent. Guaning shouted. The second slash approached. You are drunk. Guaning turned her head. Just allow your servant to fight you. Wuxia hooked on a smile that confused all things. Suddenly, her legs stepped on rainwater, shaking up splashes. The roaring was torn to shreds. Wuxia rushed over, as if she was a ferocious tiger. In the next instant, her hand clenched the double-ended sword. Her hands parted, and Noble Frost Demonic Lotus became two swords, one surpassing frost, one pitch black as ink. Double swords? Guaning was stunned. The pilgrim and the swords already became a bolt of lightning, shooting directly towards brave star Guaning. The matchless fifth stage could make precise predictions about enemy attacks, and could automatically create a way to resist, but this realm was not at all unrivaled. At least in terms of Star General's battle strength, sometimes, it required both sides to be facing death to bring about a change in the situation. So fast. Guan Ying's pupils contracted. The lovely Wuxia already drew closer. When Guaning thought that she could evade the first attack, Wuxia's second sword already approached. Oh no. The somewhat drunk attacks of Wuxia's double swords became something incomprehensible, and outside of common sense, unfathomable. The matchless fifth stage realm completely lost its use. Guaning could not perceive Wuxia's attack pattern. Danger, she smelled danger. Her whole body hurt, and Guaning nearly knelt. Hey, just this is too much. Your servant has not yet enjoyed herself. Wuxia seemed very excited. Her eyes were extremely lovely, and that voice was even more alluring than a fox's. Su Xing was flabbergasted. Humph. Guaning curled the corner of her mouth with difficulty. Wuxia's change clearly exceeded her expectations, truly putting her into a sorry situation. Too sorry a situation. It seems the legendary drunken Wusong is indeed interesting. Guaning snorted, her intimidating aura releasing. Could it be a new dark rank technique, or perhaps it is even an earth rank technique? Guan Ying's guess was not without reason. You dare insult your servant's lord husband. Today your servant wants you to pay with your life. Wuxia licked her lips, her whole body red as blood. This honestly was too charming. This made a martial general as imposing as Guaning somewhat unsure about her completely opposite change. Guaning noticed that if she herself continued like this, she basically would not have any chance of victory in battle. Or put another way, straight to the point, this was the very first time Guaning had confronted Wusong's wild drunken state. It really was very outlandish. Come on, let your servant see where the brave star's soul of the warrior is. Wu Xiao's declaration did not have any intentions of fooling around. Guanning curled the corner of her lips. Conceding defeat was not her personality. The next second, both sides once again rushed forward. Wu Xiao's double swords randomly changed directions as she approached. Sometimes, they were plainly obvious in front of her, but when they drew close, they were then on her flanks. When Guanning defended against the side attacks, Wu Xiao's chilly attack then appeared from behind. She appeared drunk, but her attacks nevertheless were actually incomparably sober. Every launched attack would draw a long and hard arc in the air, and then directly stab forth with the force of 1,000 caddies like a spear. Guanning even was disinclined to go guess the trajectory of the attacks. So long as she could place her great blade at the appropriate position, she definitely could wait until her attack. Guanning knew anyways that in confronting the drunken and completely in shambles Harmstar pilgrim, guessing was an extremely laughable thing. Afterwards, there was an exciting slam. One where force met with force, where crisp white blade edges knocked against each other. Every time metal clashed, sparks flew. Even Guanning shuddered in recoil at the enormous reaction, but she did not have much time, for the next slam brought an even deeper and fiercer power drew closer, bursting open with even more dazzling fireworks. Guanning was waiting. Despite her arm gradually turning numb from the impacts of the weapon in her hand, her mind still maintained an increasingly calm attitude, completely changing places with Wu Xiao. The brave star was very clear, and Wu Xiao's odd battle state required enormous consumption of strength. It would end before long. Guanning was self-confident that she had the advantage in terms of star energy. As long as she patiently waited, she could rapidly take the upper hand. The rest was only a matter of time. Waiting was the best offense. For there was only this method of waiting for Wu Xiao to break free of this odd state and settle this battle herself. A searing pain ran through her skin. Guanning already no longer thought about the injuries on her body, convinced they definitely were terrifying. Are you not counterattacking? Wu Xiao's attacks were increasingly swift beyond compare. Each strike already reached the stage of leaving afterimages. Guanying's hardened armor burst forth everywhere under the double sword's tips. Guanning was infuriated, and the great blade did not leave any leeway. Extreme Realm. Great Saint Starkiller saw Wu Xiao's abnormal status, and hastily flipped open the birth treasure outline. When he saw the realm upon the birth treasure outline, Great Saint Starkiller was endlessly shocked. Extreme Realm. The super extreme realm that surpassed matchless. Although this was only first stage, this was nevertheless sufficient to contend against a 4-star destined weapon. How could this be happening? The corner of Wu Xiao's mouth rose with a sneer. Afterwards, with even fiercer stabs, she continued her assault, not even without half a thought of retreating. Her pupils burned with a glaring light. This was an expression Guanning had never seen before, both of longing and hatred, both bashful and indifferent. Guanning was very clear. The longing came from that man named Su Xing, the hatred from her. She neither feared nor dreaded it. Everything she felt had already been forgotten in the back of her head. The sole fear she could hear was only in those split-second heartbeats and the reckless sneers under sword slashes. There was no way to win. Guanying's heart for the first time had a sort of powerless feeling of reversal. Even if she had a 4-star destined weapon, she did not have the self-confidence to save herself. The specters were increasingly overlapped, and then fading away en masse. In the eyes of an observer, Wu Xiao's seeming drunkenness was just like her walking before. Each step passed through Guanying's attacks and defenses. The brave star could only cling to life. Defeat was only a matter of time. What the hell is up with Xiao? Su Xing felt the remaining warmth upon his lips, swallowing hard at Wu Xiao's charm and allure. The downpour was blown apart. Could it be that you still do not realize it? Chai Ling gave a seeming smile. This is your and Wu Xiao's Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow skill. Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow skill. Su Xing was stunned. That was precisely it. Chai Ling nodded and grinned. Do not laugh laying drunk on battlefield. Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow skill? Su Xing showed considerable surprise. Mine and CEO's? Who else? Little Whirlwind Chai Ling smiled with narrowed eyes. Could it be we signed a contract just now? Su Xing could still feel the lingering heat on his lips, an orchid fragrance assailing his nostrils. Wu Xiao's kiss was very beautiful, but Su Xing nevertheless did not feel that sort of feeling he had when signing contracts. His star crest did not twinkle, and a new crimson star had not appeared in the sky. Chai Ling smiled and did not reply. This sort of problem would be left to the person in question himself to be vexed about. The Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow skill is a move that can only be comprehended when a star general and someone else reach an incomparable realm of perfect understanding. This was not at all inside the limits of a contract. It could be done with any star cultivator, or even other sisters. Chai Ling warned. Su Xing suddenly understood. Although not signing a contract made Su Xing feel very regretful, Wu Xiao's voluntary kiss already made this no longer important. Su Xing fixed his gaze on the dance in the rain, on the slightly drunken Wu Xiao in the rain, and he already somewhat understood that kiss just now happened to be the reason why Wu Xiao was drunk at this time. Do not laugh laying drunk on battlefield. The intoxicated Wu Xiao was rather flirty. Could it be that was not a kiss contract just now? Gong Kaiwei was somewhat confused. In her knowledge, Wu Xiao kissing Su Xing just now was a scene that honestly was extremely like the highest form of contract between Star General and Star Master, the kiss contract. The kiss contract has a great deal of restrictions. Perhaps Su Xing's Star Generals already reached the limit, or perhaps Wu Xiao still has the last vestiges of a defensive line, or perhaps, there are too many perhaps, you can all go think about it yourselves. Chai Ling somewhat irresponsibly teased the riches and honor Persia that was in her bosom. The downpour broke open. Wu Xiao and Guan Ying's battle was even more out of the ordinary in ferocity. A powerful sword chi and blade chi crossed and bit at one another, pouncing in all directions, making Su Xing and the others hastily retreat. The downpour drenched Evil Smiting Hall. Yet it suddenly became warm at this moment. The flowing sprite-like lights of the 4-star purple brilliant moon slashing blade, the blade chi of which was cleansed by the rainwater, and the long time spent in battle already made Guaning considerably exhausted. When the great blade was already incapable of following Wu Xiao's figure, her attacks and defenses completely lacked sense. Noble Frost and Demonic Lotus, the pair of swords danced together, achieving the most gorgeous death movements. The intoxicated Wu Xiao, her expression charming, had her gait confused and messy, but even if it was a drunken Wu Xiao, her attacks nevertheless were smooth and easy, executed perfectly. Guaning basically had no way to persist. This was Wu Xiao's Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow skill. Do not laugh laying drunk on battlefield. Break. Her figure spun, and Wu Xiao's sword stabbed, piercing through with a cold trail of sword light. The sword's tip carved the raindrops into finer and smaller pieces. The blow seemingly landed. Guaning held her breath, barely dodging to the side, with the point brushing past her cheek. That snow-white cheek immediately showed a line of blood. Drops of crimson blood dribbled, and the sword punctured the top of a raindrop. It honestly was swift to the peak, an escape by a hair's breadth. But Wu Xiao's other sword nevertheless at the same time stabbed, running through Guan Ying's thigh like a beast's fang. The brave star nearly fell to a knee. How could Guan Ying's dignity concede? She did everything she could to hack with the purple brilliant moon slashing blade, attempting to force back Wu Xiao. Wu Xiao's drunken and muddled charming cheeks drew an alluring smile. With a leisurely dodge, she brushed past the great blade, and then a demon appeared on Guan Ying's right side. Another sword wound appeared. The downpour washed away the fresh blood. Splashes of blood and rainwater blossomed at the same time in the air. Laying drunk on the battlefield, merrily chatting away. The next time, the double blades became twin dragons that crossed and attacked. Guaning was worthy of being named the top-notch martial general of the matchless fifth stave. To still be able to dodge again under such difficult circumstances. But this was the end of the road. The 4-star destined weapon already was incapable of locking onto Wu Xiao's drunken figure, to say nothing of the attacks. Sword chi crisscrossed, and a terrifying explosion seemingly boomed on the clash of metal. The flying rain droplets were full of stirring red. Guaning was stupefied. That thick astral treasure armor was full of cracks. With a rumble, it turned into countless fragments. The two-sword cheese of Snow White and Dark Night burst out from her body. Guaning was incapable of believing the fact she was facing. That she of a 4-star destined weapon was defeated. Brave star of lost warrior spirit. Your servant today has received your dignity. The spirit of the warrior. The spirit of the warrior. Guaning was taciturn. She closed her eyes. Wuxia completely did not hesitate to lift her hand and bring down her sword. Guaning immediately was slashed into the star nest. Great Saint Starkiller stared at the brave star Great Blade Guaning with a 4-star destined weapon unexpectedly be cut down by Wuxia. And his heart was incomparably shaken. His eyes were dazzled. Suddenly, Wuxia directly stepped into his Origin of the Universe Heavenly Cycle Sword Array with a single leap. That obviously airtight sword array was surprisingly nothing in the eyes of Wuxia, an idle stroll in the courtyard. Great Saint Starkiller's face greatly changed. Suddenly, a gloomy hiss resounded. The sword array boomed, and the heavenly cycle-changing holy sword starlight concentrated, sprinkling down like a river. Following Great Saint Starkiller using a mysterious ability, his forehead sprouted twisting dragon horns, his whole body seemingly was draped in dark black dragon scales, and a pair of fleshy wings spread open. Great Saint Starkiller's face no longer was graceful, and completely showed a terrifying sinister expression. A frantic black chi hovered. This happened to be a taboo power of Great Saint Starkiller's, 8 Desolate's Heavenly Demon Body. Heavenly Demon Collapsing Body. 2. In the case this ability was used, it would bring about extreme injury to the caster. Not only would cultivation be greatly set back, in addition, he would bear enormous pain after the fact. However, it was accordingly, and it could instantly allow the caster's speed, reactions, defense and power all reach a terrifying degree. Star generals would need to be slightly considerate of this sort of degree. The arrogant and self-important Great Saint Starkiller believed himself the paragon of the star duels. Cultivating this heavenly demon collapsing body, he naturally had never thought he would actually use it, but the very odd, ancient demon 7 kills steel. 3. The heavenly demon killing art of the supreme grade cultivation method was something he never thought he would use here and now. The heavenly demon collapsing body nevertheless became his greatest trump card. For the sake of the noble star's red ink iron certificate, Great Saint Starkiller could be said to be giving it his all. Great Saint Starkiller furiously roared, his surging power devastating the area of 100 li, and the downpour was terminated. Su Xing and the rest were blown into disarray. That merely was a matter that happened in a mere instant. Chai Ling still maintained an astonished expression. Then she saw Great Saint Starkiller flap his wretched wings. Afterwards, Great Saint Starkiller seemed to be an existence that surpassed time and space in everyone's eyes, becoming a perfectly straight black light that descended right in front of Chai Ling. That warped face wore a greedy smile, a hand directly plunging for Chai Ling's heart. Even if Chai Ling's red ink iron certificate could save her life, the instant he grabbed hold of Chai Ling's heart, Great Saint Starkiller's heavenly demon collapsing body was sufficient to kill the little whirlwind 100 times. Perhaps it was too late to activate. Even Wuxia was slow a step. Just at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared right in front of her, stopping in front of him without hesitation. It was Su Xing. It's still bearable. Su Xing smiled. Chai Ling was stunned silent. Losing an enemy as powerful as Guaning, the Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow skill finally reached its limit. The red clouds on her white face gradually receded, and those feet stepping on lotus petals wobbled unsteadily. Su Xing promptly rushed over, catching the beauty against his chest. "Wifey, are you alright?" Su Xing asked. Wuxia groaned. "Red clouds rising. Let us first return, have Daoquan come help treat your injuries." Chai Ling took out the evil smiting writ, no longer wishing to stay any longer in this place. Su Xing did not oppose. His gaze swept towards the taciturn Gong Kaiwei nearby. The things that happened to today honestly made this immortal hero princess unable to forget. Su Xing, this princess owes you her life. Later in the star duels, you can take it at any time. Gong Kaiwei said with a serious face. Su Xing shook his head. Careful, to be able to make Xiao finally recognize me. I still have to thank you. Chai Ling surreptitiously rolled her eyes. This man truly was very thoughtful. Don't I, wifey? Su Xing chuckled. Wu Xiao grunted, cutely directing away her line of sight. Gong Kaiwei's eyes had some complexity. In the end she nodded, not uttering a word. After Su Xing's group left, Evil Smiting Hall recovered its tranquility. The skies were clear after a rain, and the black skies gave off a magnificent light. The air after a rain was full of the recovering scent of new life. At that sky, she stared. Gong Kaiwei deeply sighed. The blue mountains were a continuous green, a sea of trees becoming a tidal wave. Regardless of how the outside was, the Void Immortal's abode generally was situated in an environment most suitable and most perfect for a cultivator. The chi of endless opportunity swelled unpredictably as spreading mist, as if it was being controlled by an invisible hand, floating towards the building inside the Immortal's abode. Outside the door, it was the same everywhere, each millennial beauty stricken with worry. It would make anyone feel jealous. The brave star Guansheng? She has signed a contract with Great Saint Star Killer of the Netherworld? Wu Xinjie turned her head, quite astonished. Chai Ling gracefully sipped her tea, immersing her lips and teeth in the fragrance. Her pink lips hooked with a smile, with slight mockery and slight mystery. Xinjie never thought the brave star would sign a contract with Great Saint Star Killer. It was somewhat contrary to Wu Xinjie's reason. She truly did not expect this, for the brave star's loyalty and ferocity were famous, and in fact, the martial funeral that stood at the peak of the pyramid often did not hold goodwill towards star cultivators of the Netherworld's devil palaces. However, considering the prestige of the brave stars of previous star duels, for Guaning to make such a decision, Wu Xinjie could understand. After 9 generations, the name of the star duels had already been deeply etched into Liangshan continent. Victory or defeat had already become its most important embodiment. Great Saint Star Killer. Xinjie actually did not think that Guaning would find such a star master. Yingmei definitely will be very disappointed when she hears this. Wu Xinjie bitterly smiled. However, for Guaning to unexpectedly forge to 4-star honestly is incredible. Fortunately, Wu Song went together with you. Chai Ling already informed the girls of the matters inside Evil Smiting Hall. Under Wu Xiao's insistence, the matter of Lord Husband was left out, and she only spoke of that Wu Xiao had finally comprehended a new technique that defeated Guansheng. As far as this new technique that could defeat a 4-star destined weapon was concerned, Wu Xinjie did not believe it. However, she felt there was a deeper meaning within. Wu Xinjie did not ask any further, for it was all right so long as Su Xing was unhurt. To speak of it, are you not angry? Chai Ling seemingly smiled, casting a glance at Wu Xinjie. This man, surprisingly in spite of all of you, placed himself in danger for the sake of one immortal hero princess. This honestly is unlike a Star Master's style. He little sister Chai Ling, do not tell Xinjie. Were you not moved when my young lord protected Gong Kaiwei? Wu Xinjie chuckled. Chai Ling opened the golden thread feather fan as if to cover herself. Why would this palace be moved over this? Knowledge Star, such a Star Master. This palace was too late to avoid him. To sacrifice his life for a woman. Gong Kaiwei and my young lord are somewhat in a relationship. Wu Xinjie shook her head. Girls that were very understanding of Su Xing's personality would not be a bit surprised he would do this. On the contrary, if Su Xing actually disregarded Gong Kaiwei, Wu Xinjie would feel puzzled. In Su Xing's heart, friends worth believing in were more important than his life. Although Wu Xinjie very much did not understand just what sort of environment could be so incompatible with Liangshan continent's beliefs, regardless, some profound story happened with Gong Kaiwei in Flower Dragon Cave that perhaps made Su Xing treat Gong Kaiwei as a friend. Wu Xinjie remembered that Su Xing mentioned it after the Purple Star Birth treasure outline. At that time he was facing the encirclement of multiple sections. Gong Kaiwei not only did not treat Su Xing as an enemy, she even helped him. Just by this fact, treating her as a friend was inevitable. Perhaps it was precisely because of this personality that he would attract so many sisters to follow him? Let alone, I am very aware that my young lord would never do something like throw his life away. Wu Xinjie softly chuckled. Saying this, Chai Ling recalled that bizarre escape technique at the very end, and she asked a question. Hearing Wu Xinjie's explanation, Chai Ling was moved. The little whirlwind had actually heard of an escape technique abnormal enough to be detestable as the chaotic tail escape. Knowledge Star, can this palace ask you about something? Chai Ling put away her ruminating smile, asking seriously. Please do. Su Xing, just what is his background? Chai Ling wrinkled her brow. Wu Xinjie laughed. It cannot be. Could it be that the wealthiest noblewoman in the world does not know? This palace has investigated the Purple Thunder monster. Chai Ling spoke bluntly. As the partner that could ingest the Together to Hell, the noble star could not have possibly not known anything about her partner after the fact, but no matter how large the little whirlwind cast her net of information, the news she received in the end was still pitifully sparse. Su Xing had seemingly dropped from heaven. Background influence he had never even been heard of. In the end, Chai Ling thought that Su Xing had emerged from some mountain that he could have a sort of simple and honest mentality. But after leaving Evil Smiting Hall, Chai Ling again turned over her verdict. How could a man that had emerged from a mountain have this sort of cunning? Having 7 sisters follow him based on simplicity and honesty. To have Harm Star Wuxia address him as Lord Husband to bring about a defeat in a millennium. How was this simple and honest at all? This was practically cheating. Come to think of it, Chai Ling, do you not feel that my young lord is very familiar? Wu Xinjie ineffably said. And Wu Xinjie looked pensively. After being in contact with young lord for a while, you would feel as if you had met young lord very long ago. It makes Xinjie feel particularly at ease. You also feel this way? Chai Ling was startled. It seemed Chai Ling you too? Chai Ling said. Thinking carefully, indeed this palace feels somewhat odd. The first time she met Su Xing, the reason why Chai Ling would so boldly be at ease with ingesting the Together to Hell with Su Xing was that her heart possessed some indescribable relief towards him. Feeling as if Su Xing had intruded into her heart, Chai Ling naturally would not speak aloud about this sort of feeling that would make her lose face, but she thought that she was mistaken. Now hearing Wu Xinjie say this, she felt there was something not too normal. To be able to break the rules to sign so many sisters, there always was a reason here. Could it be that Su Xing actually came from Maiden Mountain? Chai Ling happened upon an audacious idea, but she immediately dismissed it. If that was true, the Chao guy that came from Maiden Mountain would not be difficult on Su Xing. Just what change had happened to this generation's star duels? Truly this was odd. Chai Ling inwardly wrinkled her brow, determining in her mind that she needed to investigate. Meanwhile, Wuxia alone sought out Lin Yingmei for a discussion. The first 3 words of, "Your servant apologizes," right out of the Harm Star's mouth made Lin Yingmei stunned. This time, "Your servant ought to thank you, Wuxia." Lin Yingmei shook her head. Wuxia wanted to say something but hesitated. The cool and elegant pilgrim bit her lip, the words in her heart unable to leave her mouth. To address her best friend's contractor as Lord Husband, Wuxia's heart had a sort of betrayal feeling. Although she knew that Lin Yingmei would not necessarily care, Wuxia's heart still was not too comfortable. If it is possible, your servant wishes to ascend Maiden Mountain shoulder to shoulder with you, Wuxia. Lin Yingmei stared at Wuxia. The majestic star had sharply sensed something. Your servant naturally will help hubby, Su Xing and Yingmei. You can scale the summit. As for the things afterwards, that can come later. Wuxia slightly smiled, to the greatest extent of making her smile appear tranquil. Seeing Wuxia still was unable to struggle free of the invisible chains of previous overlord, Lin Yingmei was somewhat disappointed but could understand. Hearing Wuxia already was no longer that reserved as she was originally, her tone began to soften. Lin Yingmei's heart was consoled she did not know what had happened in Evil Smiting Hall between young master and Wuxia. A moment later, the door to the immortal's abode opened. A while later, the beauties surrounded it. Diving physician and Suwen wiped the sweat upon her brow, indicating to the sisters they could enter the room. Inside the room, Su Xing lay atop the bed. The first terrifying wounds that had made all the girls choke had already recovered under the divine physician's life-returning magic hands, until only a faint scar remained. With Ensuan present, the condition of Su Xing's injuries would recover with twice the effect but half the effort. Su Xing, worthy of being the man this young lady has looked upon. Hihi, the #1 star masters of the 3 territories cannot match you. Shi Yuan complacently leaned on the head of the bed. Only when the thief star said as much did they recall the ones acclaimed as the Azure Dragon Territories #1 Star Master, Xiejin Yuan, the Vermilion Bird Territories acclaimed #1 Star Master Lady Snake Scorpion, and the Netherworld's acclaimed #1 Star Master Great Saint Starkiller, had all been defeated at Su Xing's hand. Now it seemed, this generation's star duels were completely within Su Xing's hands. TSK, our wills cannot be full of arrogance. Now is only the 3rd phase. Do not forget about the 4th phase. This 4th phase is but full of variable. Any weaker star generals can possibly thereby stun the world with one amazing act. Wu Xinjie cautiously warned. When the knowledge star spoke of the 4th phase, Shi Yuan was fully aware of its formidability. The star duels were composed of 5 phases. The 4th phase that followed after star generals became complete star maidens was the last place they could expand their own strength. In this phase, the variables were too numerous. What Sister Xinjie said is right, and perhaps many star masters that have been hiding will emerge. And Suan also said, like the Crystal Dragon Palace and the Purple Knight Immortal Palace. For 2 of the Azure Dragon Territories' renowned sects, their star master have not been seen. Particularly the latter Purple Knight Immortal Palace, a tyrannical sect which had once produced an overlord. Master, how is the meditative mind lotus seed? Yan Yizhen spoke. Su Xing sensed it. Its withering was somewhat severe. It seems we need to go to the Buddha kingdom. All of the girls showed serious expressions. The very long evil smiting hall had now at last come to the end of its period, but there basically was no time to relax. Chao Gai and Maiden Mountain's trial currently was like a tiger eyeing its prey. Little Huang, regarding your star beast, it seems you must go again only after we go to the Buddha kingdom. The girls gazed at the exceedingly refined Gongsun Huang. Gongsun Huang's gaze never left Su Xing. The little lowly nodded her head. The meditative mind lotus seed was in a state of emergency. It was unknown how long this trip would take, and recalling Chao Gai's test made the beauties frown, worry in their hearts. Evil Smiting Hall had 3 months' time, and now 1 month had already gone with 2 more months left. Afterwards, Maiden Mountain would make a move against Su Xing. As far as Maiden Mountain's test was concerned, all of the girls would carry it without any regard. Even Chai Ling to the side felt astonished as she watched. The star duels having reached this sort of territory could count as unprecedented for all time. Could it be elder sister Chai Ling does not have any way to help bloom elder brother's meditative mind lotus seed? The reclusive Tang Lianxin also was secretly worried when she came upon Su Xing's critical state. All of the girls shifted their gazes to Chai Ling. Outside of these outstanding star duels, in all of Liangshan continent, she was the sister that was most likely to pierce the heavens. Noble star Little Whirlwind was powerless. This palace shall help investigate the meditative mind lotus seed. However, do you need to be anxious? Among us sisters, there is one sister that is but one we can call on for the meditative mind. Perhaps she can make the lotus seed bloom. Chai Ling smiled. Chai Ling, you must be speaking of heavenly solitary star flowery monk Lu Jishan? 3 Wu Xinjie sighed. The heavenly solitary star and the earthly solitary star were the same, both with the word solitary. Although her meditative mind was superb, the variable were too great. Wu Xinjie could not bet on this, and for this reason, they could only find the Buddha Kingdom's senior monks to enlighten the seed. Chai Ling thought so as well. Since this is the case, this palace shall help the sisters. Everyone thought that Chai Ling had some magic weapon, and they showed expectation. Chai Ling gracefully closed the fan, shook her head, and gazed at Su Xing with an expression somewhat passionate. This palace naturally has no way to help you open that lotus seed, but perhaps she can give you an opportunity to open the seed. Not as bad as leaving you out of your wits. Your meaning is? Naturally, that is to find meet star Jiangjing to perform a divine calculation. Chai Ling looked at Su Xing, her attitude a charming smile. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.